Interesting fake. It's a touchdown to Ben Sims. Just love the poise of this young quarterback.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Flagler off the window, the tip. Oh my goodness.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
They're going to throw, and they're going to score. It is Thornton celebrating with his teammates.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Championship if you score in all likelihood. And perhaps the CFP. Jackson trying to turn the corner, and he did not get there. John Nemeth raced him to the pylon and made sure he came up inches short.
Now, here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Well, hello and welcome back. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We are live from McLean Stadium, right outside the Baylor Club. Today, Baylor is hosting around, I think it's 18 to 24 different colleges, universities, athletic departments, so to speak, in the state of Texas, from A&M to TCU to SMU to North Texas to Stephen F. Austin to many others. UTSA are here. And we will have numerous interviews with those involved in administration as they watch the college landscape, of course, change every single day. It's been a while since we've all been together. We were down earlier this week as we were renovating the studio. Jack and Garrett and Paul, they get all the credit for that. All of the credit for that, and we will be back in the studio tomorrow. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. It's been a while. It seemed like it's been forever, but we're back together again, at least for today and tomorrow.
Yeah, and just in case tomorrow when you look and you say it looks the same, most of the stuff we did was on the ground. Like it was all that. But yeah, so we were there. We had a lot of fun. The three of us. It was a bonding. It was a team building event. We had a great time. But it's good to be all back together. And this is a super cool event that we're at here, Cal's at the Baylor Club.
One of the other things is how many of you reached out to us, whether it was direct message on Twitter, some direct text messages, some, of course, also on the board, Sikkim365.com, and just trying to figure out what are we doing. We just had a little bit of a downtime and now get refreshed, but we're not done. We have time between now and Big 12 Media Days in mid-July to try to still see what we can do to get better for you. But the chat room, Jared, Lee, Markel, Mike, all of you already there. And also, Jack did pretty much all of the work with eyeballs on the chat room. I think Jack put that up as well. From Jared Howdy, must be an A&M fan, right? We have, in fact, speaking of that, Kristen Brown, who's the Deputy Director of Athletics at A&M, joins us today on the show. Markel, this is a very good point. UT is going to win the Creator Cup, or as actually the Director's Cup again. They are. They've had an incredible spring. Last night, their softball team got blown out by Oklahoma, play tonight as well, but baseball's still in it. Track and field's good. And you're probably right as well. D5 Terps, go Terps, Maryland fan.
Yeah, he's new. He's new. He came in last week. You missed him, but I can't remember what he had. He had a great idea about something. But yeah, he's a good contributor to the chat room.
From Mike, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. We're glad. We're still here. We'll be going on today. We have guests from everywhere collegiately. Baylor, A&M, North Texas, SFA, UTSA. Also tomorrow we'll have the Southland Conference Commissioner, Chris Grant. He'll join us. Max Olson will join us. Craig's off the radar today. A lot of it about LIV golf and many other things as well. And Paul Catalina's top 5, as we always do, as well at 5:55 from Brian Etheridge on the chat room. Nobody cares about swimming trophies. And that may be true unless you're a part of the swim team, but they are, Texas, having a great spring. There's no argument there. Paula, the boys are back in town. Awesome, Paula. It's great to have you. Paula, it's great to have you as well. Craig Smoak, I did something for Craig. I don't know if it was for Craig, but we had on Tuesday the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Every June, the first Tuesday in June, we get together and we announce or we put together the ballot for the next class of 2023. And there's some great names. And they've been released, from Jordan Spieth to Matthew Stafford to others. There's great debate in there among some other names that have been brought back from a year ago based on voting. Veterans Committee, great names. But I was trying to think outside the box, and so I just Googled greatest athletes in Texas sports history. And there's a bunch that are obvious. One of the names on that list was Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I had nominated him to be a part of the ballot, and he made it on the ballot. And there's about 10 or 12 others that are from Texas, are part of wrestling, professional wrestling. The debate was not very long. In fact, most everybody said, yeah. And it's about selling tickets as well, but it's also about recognizing greatness. Craig?
So is he going in? Is that what you said?
No, I'm not. He's not going in. He's on the ballot. The ballot will be released. It's already been released. But he has to still be voted in, but he's going to be a part of the 20, what you call current modern-day candidates for the Texas Sports Hall of Fame.
I mean, that's cool. Don't do anything for me, though. I don't care if Stone Cold goes in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, but that's a nice thought. I think certainly there's no state out there that probably could boast as many, Hall of Famer type guys like that would have an argument to get into a sports Hall of Fame. I'll let everybody else debate on it. It's a sport or it's whatever. I don't care about any of that. But yeah, Texas has a rich history. It's Stone Cold. You got Shawn Michaels. You got The Undertaker. You got the Funks. You got the Blanchards. You got the Guerreros. You can go on and on and on and on. There's a deep, deep, deep history. You got world class and the Von Erichs, obviously. You get to the Freebirds, even though they weren't from Texas, like they plied their trade in a major way against the Von Erichs and world class. I mean, yeah, there's a deep history there. So I told you, if Booker T is another one, JBL is another one from Texas. But I told you that it's up to you guys to vote people in. But if Texas really wanted to do that and they wanted to establish that, like the Delaware Sports Hall of Fame couldn't do a wrestling wing, but the Texas Sports Hall of Fame could do it.
And that's been thought of as well as a possible option.
And do it pretty well, because there's not, better headlining than Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold, and The Undertaker for starters.
You talk about selling tickets and listen, there was some debate about the younger athletes. I want to get into that, but we're here again to talk a lot about college athletics today, of course.
Here's what I'll promise. And you know how I feel about jean shorts. I don't like them. But if Stone Cold Steve Austin gets in, I will wear jean shorts where everybody can see them on the show.
Okay.
I will do that.
You
Because I really want. I think
it's
it'd
not
be great.
whether you want. It's whether we want you to wear
I'm not going to wear Daisy Dukes. I'm just going to wear Stone Cold Austin.
Daisy Dukes.
jean
No, you're not
short
wearing
shorts,
Daisy Dukes. I will put my foot down.
On the air.
There's so much going on. Again, that LIV golf tournament, the first one teed off earlier today. There's debate about that. 17 players who are a part of that have been suspended by the PGA Tour. We'll talk more about that with Craig's Off the Radar and some of the stories and lines and insight behind it. The National NCAA Track and Field Championships going on in Eugene, Oregon. Guess who's one of the broadcasters? Baylor's Robert Griffin III, ESPN's Robert Griffin III, who also has his camp at Baylor, by the way, sometime next week. Here's a college football note. Ohio State quarterback C.J. Stroud opted for a $200,000 Mercedes G-Wagon over the $150,000 Bentley model in an NIL deal with a Sarchioni Auto Gallery.
Man.
So you have Bijan with his what's Bijan? The Lamborghini.
Lamborghini.
I think Quinn Ewers has something now, and now C.J. Stroud, who might be the best quarterback in college football. Who knows? That's debatable.
Oh, I mean, I think that's okay. First of all, I just like being serious for a moment. That's really awesome for C.J. Stroud.
I think
that's incredible, and the fact that he's got that opportunity to drive a vehicle like that and do it all in the up and not have to do the whole Eric Dickerson thing, I think is a sign that we've all moved a long way in college athletics, and it's overdue and all of that. At the same time, who's going and buying that car because he's driving it?
No, I agree.
Like, it has absolutely nothing to do with marketing, and I'm sure that dealership has gotten a few more Google hits. But those types of cars that we're talking, there's not a lot of people that go and buy those. So
you can't.
That's all inducement, and that is very little to do with name, image, and likeness.
Less than 0.01% of the country could probably afford that.
Yeah, you're talking about the 1%. The other thing is when those people who can afford that car go to buy that car, they know that that's what they're going to get. They're not at the lot going, should I get a Ford Explorer or a Jeep Cherokee or a Kia Sportage? They're not making that decision. They're the
people who can buy that car are not buying it because of C.J. Stroud.
Exactly.
So that's why I wanted to get the yes, good for him. That's awesome, good for him. But name, image, likeness. I like I said, the dealership probably getting some more notoriety, but I think that's just a really great deal that Ohio State's got set up and Texas has set up with the Lambo dealership and all that.
That's what Ryan Day was talking about it the other day, that he felt he was the first coach. We had Joey Kaufman on Smoking while you were gone. Ryan Day had to put a number. I need $13 million in this NIL fund.
For this year?
For
a budget?
To keep the team intact. And I would think a $200,000 G-Wagon is part of that.
Does that count? I would hope so, yeah. I mean, that's really cool for C.J. Stroud.
All right, one of the notes, and Steve Shook's the one I believe that sent this to me while I was out for a while and visiting my brothers in Florida. Luke Fickell and Cincinnati over the weekend received 8 commitments during one of their big weekends. It pops them up, and again, it's early, but it pops them all the way up into the top 5 nationally in the 247 Sports rankings. And we know Texas Tech's number 2, Notre Dame, I think, is 1, and there's some others, but they had themselves a great weekend. And not only because of what they did last year, being in the college football semifinals, but also the fact that they can now say we're going to be a part of a Power 5 conference has a lot to do with that as well, as Cincinnati, UCF, Brigham Young, and also Houston will join the Big 12 in about a year. Yeah. So that's going on as well.
Yeah. Also, though, those rankings, the schools that have the most commitments are the ones who are higher up. Now, granted,
at least on 247, the way that that's done is you do get a higher weight because of just the number of those guys. Yeah.
So, but I mean, it's not like Cincinnati is now out there getting 2-star guys anymore. I mean, they're pulling in some talent.
No, I mean, it's definitely a sign that their recruiting has ticked up. They would never flirt with the top 5. It's the same thing with Texas Tech. I mean, you can say, well, it's the size of the class or it's the, whatever, but, I mean, they're not ever flirting with that spot. So, I mean, yeah, you give it up to Luke Fickell and you give it up to Joey McGuire, but, of course, you also have to say, okay, well, where do they land ultimately? And once Alabama gets about 10 more commits and Ohio State gets 10 more and everybody else kind of evens out, then that'll change a little bit, but Tech could still end up a top 20, 25. That would be a miraculous, I think, finish for them in year number 1. And I don't know where Cincinnati ends up, but if they can hang around the top 25, then that's fantastic work by them as well. So that's great news. But yeah, the rankings are not exactly telling the whole tale, but they do tell enough of it to know that Cincinnati and Tech are doing very well for themselves at the moment.
From Jason Osborne, Eli Manning advertised for Toyota when he was playing for the Giants in the NFL, and this college kid just pushing a G-Wagon.
That's what I'm saying, dude. That's what's so funny about it is, like, you're really thinking that this is going to lead to a bunch of folks in Columbus going, you know what? You got to check out that dealership. I don't know why we passed it so many times before. Now we can swing that $200,000 car. Like, yeah, that's what's funny to me is you can call it NIL or whatever, but it's very clearly just a really great advantage that Ohio State has, because I don't know how many cars he's going to sell for them, but he's going to have one, and the next quarterback that comes along is going to want one, and then the next quarterback who they're recruiting is going to say, holy cow, CJ Stroud's driving that because he's a starting quarterback. So yeah, that's definitely an interesting thing.
From Tony on that, and then we're going to hear from Dr. Lisa Campos, AD, at UTSA. She'll join us. We'll have many others that will join us as well.
I'm not complaining, by the way.
Yeah, no, you're not. Tony, he probably smoozes at a few of their events, which probably is glorious at helping sell cars, especially for people upgrading from the prior buys. That happens a lot in pro sports. It's kind of an appearance, not so much that he's driving it, but that's part of it as well. There might be a number of appearances he has to be at. It could be at a sporting event, or it could be at the dealership or at the country club or somewhere else as well. All right, we're at CALS, Collegiate Administrators Leadership Symposium. Baylor is hosting this. And there's one that's annually that's a little bit larger, more. This is a one-day deal, and there's right now, for example, a leadership about how you deal with student athletes or how you help them, mental health, to facilities, and so much more. We are going to rock it here on so many different angles, we hope, for you on college athletics. Yes, we bring up the things on the landscape right now, from NIL to transfer portal, but also how certain schools handle their coaches being rated or at least talked to. We also are going to discuss the current landscape of college athletics and how much does the education get pushed in the background, and their thoughts from A&M to Baylor, UTSA to North Texas, SFA, and much more as well. And also John Nemeth, who is at a company that's going to build the Foster Pavilion, the men's and women's basketball arena right across the street at I-35 on the Brazos. He joins us as well to discuss that project and how it came about and what's in the future for that as well. All right, when we today we'll still have Off the Radar. We'll still have the top five, and Max Olson joins us at the bottom of the hour. But our first interview with the director of athletics at UTSA. She's the one that hired Jeff Traylor, who's had great success there. Dr. Lisa Campos on Sikkim 365 Radio. We're now joined by UTSA Director of Athletics at UTSA. Let me start over again. I got mixed up because I was supposed to. Okay. We're now joined by Lisa Campos. She is the Director of Athletics at UTSA, and someone who is a rock star in the business herself, and someone who is the one who hired a great friend of ours in Jeff Traylor as the head football coach, and he has done a pretty remarkable job, better than maybe you even thought.
Well, first, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. And yeah, we hit a home run with Coach Traylor's hire, and yeah, knew that he was going to be so successful. Didn't imagine it being in such a short amount of time, and to win a conference championship for the first time in program history in year 2 during COVID.
Yes, absolutely, and the momentum is there for the future as well.
How much, when you have a program, you're making a hire, you know that, okay, this guy clearly can X and O. That's part of it. But the personality of your school and the personality of the coach seem to intersect so well with him. Is that what jumped off about Jeff to you?
Yeah, I tell a story often that we didn't really know. Jeff was not on our radar, and everyone who came in kept talking about Jeff Traylor. And, we interviewed incredible individuals, sitting head coaches at the Division I level, but we heard enough about Jeff. We said we got to at least talk to this individual, and I always say it, within 5 minutes of him interacting with us, it was the president and I. I was like, this is my guy. You could just tell immediately that, to your point, he met the personality of what we were needing at the time. He had the Texas connections. He had all the relationships all over the state. He's so competitive. He has the winning championship mentality. But he's just an authentic, genuine person. And we immediately knew he was going to be able to connect with our students and with our city and do something really special.
What does it feel like in San Antonio right now as it pertains to UTSA athletics? I mean, it just seems like there's just a growing, building momentum in that regard.
There is so much momentum. As I keep saying, we are on a steep trajectory, just not just athletics, but our institution. And there are doors being opened that I never thought would be open because of the success of our football program and our athletics program. We opened up a brand new $40+ million facility in August, was able to build that during COVID, on budget, on time. That created a lot of momentum. Being able to sign coach for 10 years, that added to the momentum. Getting into the American Conference, winning a conference championship. I mean, the last 7 months have been, I've aged about 10 years, but it just positive, and everyone in San Antonio is getting on board.
When you have someone like him who is immediately successful and his personality the way it is, you signed him to the 10-year contract extension. How difficult is it when you have somebody, you want them to be successful and then others notice that he's successful?
He experiences, I think, in recruiting all the time that he wants to keep that a secret, but we knew, I didn't expect, again, that in year 2 people would be coming after him immediately, but we knew that was going to be a possibility, and I've told the story that after his first year of being so successful, I approached him in the summer and said, listen, we want to start looking at your contract. I know you've only been here for a year, but there's something very special about you. And we had actually circled his off day, our open weekend, to finalize the contract. I had already had conversations with his agents, had already had conversations with him, really understood what was really important to him. And then the process sort of sped up as other schools started expressing interest, wanting to interview him. But ironically, we announced to the team, we all signed it on that date we had circled in the summer. So, I think there's always things happen for a reason, and people are always looking out for what's best here.
How much of a boon has it been for you guys, in the city of San Antonio? You know how they are with the Spurs. I mean, that is their team. That you guys are now the city's team. I mean, the city has thrown their arms around you. And for recruiting, that's got to be great, because that's not necessarily the case even just up the road in Austin. Like, they're kind of the city's team, but there's enough people from outside that, maybe they're not.
Yeah, no, UTSA football and the other sports are definitely becoming San Antonio's team. And that's been our aspirational vision, is to transform lives as San Antonio's nationally recognized Division I program. We talk about that all the time, and we're seeing that. And to see, again, it just gives me chills to see the community with orange and blue all over the businesses, the flags flying, the 210, and we reciprocated that to the city by putting 210 on the helmets, by putting the Triangle Toughness, the 210 on that we want to be your city, and to recruit local stars from San Antonio in all of our sports. They really are getting behind us and believe that we are their team.
You mentioned the move to the American. That's a big deal. Realignment just kind of appeared and then went crazy. What was that like from your perspective? I mean, just how much of the circus were you experiencing as well? Yeah,
again, it goes to all the gray hair I now have that I didn't have before. But really, I mean, when I first took this job, that was always the conversation was about realignment. And we knew we had to position ourselves, and we knew we had a long ways to go. So 4.5 years ago, we put a plan together to strategically position ourselves for when it happened. It wasn't a matter of if, it was when is this going to happen. And again, I think someone up above is really looking after us, because everything came together. To get Tier 1 status as an institution, to have our highest fundraising year in many years, or in program history, to have the attendance that we had in football, to be winning conference, like, it all came together. And the process was wild and crazy, and the conversations and how we really lobbied for San Antonio and for UTSA. But then it all just happened very quickly at the same time. But it's been years in the make, but really a short amount of time of being able to lobby and sharing our story, telling our story of how special we are and where we're going.
Lisa Campos, again, UTSA, Vice President of Intercollegiate Athletics. And a final question for you on the landscape of college sports in general, NIL, and so much more. Is it as whirlwind now, along with all the other things you've talked about, as it's ever been?
It really is. I mean, the transfer portal, NIL, I can't have an interview with anybody or a conversation with anyone without those topics coming up, right? And I'll tell you, from an NIL perspective, we've embraced it. We embraced it for when it first came about, because we know it's not going away. Now, hopefully, the spirit of it will come back, and that's what we've really embraced, is the spirit of NIL. And our community, again, how special San Antonio is, they have jumped on that, particularly for our local students. And it's not the $50,000 deals, right? But they are providing NIL deals to our student athletes in the spirit it was intended. Transformational committee, all of that, it's the uncertainty, the unknown, and we're just going to continue to stay true to who we are, focus on our student athletes, keep moving this program forward with it at the same rate that the university is moving forward, and we'll see what is there to come.
That's what everybody's kind of saying. It's like, we'll see what happens, but you just got to do what you can do, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Jeff Traylor, she is the best human you will ever meet, a truly great human being, not a ton of sizzle, but she is like Matt Turner in her character, who's a former coach that he had at Gilmore High School, who was like really the nuts and bolts of everything they did, the success he had.
Absolutely. Jeff is definitely the sizzle. I am the let's just get it done.
Thanks for your time. Great to see you. Great to meet
you. Much.
Dr.
Likewise.
Lisa Campos, again, UTSA, Director of Athletics, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Let
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers, Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
It is Max Olson, theathletic.com, who normally joins us on Thursdays at 4, a little bit earlier today because we are at an event. He has something to do as well. And, of course, every day in college football, who knows what we can talk about, like everything. Max, thanks for your time. Did you get an Aston Martin, a Lamborghini, or anything for your NIL with theathletic.com?
Yeah, I did it. The New York Times thing's just sort of kicking in now, so we'll see if that's something they do. Probably not. I'm guessing probably not. I did like there was a really funny correction yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw this. So it came out, CJ Stroud, he got a $150,000 car. But then there was a correction soon after that. I don't know if everybody saw it. CJ Stroud changed his mind, and he switched to the G-Wagon, which was $200,000. So shout out to CJ Stroud.
Yeah, he went from a Bentley to a G-Wagon. Yep. Yeah, a $50,000 more expensive vehicle. Yep, a game day decision.
It's always good to ask, right? If you're in that car lot and they're bringing you to the Bentley, it never hurts to say, well, what about that one over there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, I got derailed. Go
Max
ahead.
Olson with us from theathletic.com on Sikkim 365 Radio. Max, Big 12 meetings in about a month. There's thoughts that they might have a commissioner by then. Mack Rhoades said a week ago to Paul and Craig that he wasn't sure if that timeline would work. Is that what you're hearing, that they'll have somebody?
I don't think – I could be wrong. Could be surprised. My sense is the interviews are starting here in the next few weeks. My expectation from people I've talked to, probably more likely there'd be a new commissioner by the start of the football season as opposed to by media days. But certainly Lawrence Guvenek has made some aggressive comments in terms of his expectations. So we'll see. We'll see how quickly they can get that wrapped up.
Max, USC lost their director of player personnel. You're starting to see other teams have these GM roles. Do you foresee that as being kind of maybe not as important a role as offensive and defensive coordinator, but moving up the charts as far as importance to a program?
Yeah, that one was the Brandon Sosnick moving on from USC is a pretty important one because he is deserves a ton of credit for pulling off the Lincoln Riley hire. He really does. Really instrumental role in terms of helping Mike Bohn run that athletic department. So that's an interesting one too. I mean, Lincoln Riley gets there, and 6 months in, the guy that you're kind of working with to get this whole thing turned around moves on. But that's the challenge sometimes with these college jobs is you never really totally know what you're walking into there. But yeah, certainly those jobs are, I think we're in a time right now when the roles are evolving and you see more people taking on kind of GM jobs and stuff like that. And certainly for a young, talented guy like him, lots of opportunity out there.
Max, in terms of kind of the dust settling and all that with the transfer portal, is there anybody out there that we're kind of waiting on at this point? I know Jordan Addison was a big one. Then you had Tucker Dorsey just recently as well, committed to Texas. Where does that kind of stand at this point?
Yeah, pretty wrapped up in terms of the big names here. There's a couple good players out there. Ramon Jefferson, running back from Stan Houston, he was committed to Colorado. decided to back out in Colorado, and I think he'll be going to a Power 5 school. I'm not sure which one yet, but Javon Baker committed this week. He was supposed to go to Kentucky, the Alabama wide receiver, and said he's going to go to UCF. But, really not that many guys out there right now. In fact, I've run the numbers on it, and, right now about 75% of the scholarship players in the portal have found a home, which is good, right? I mean, it's good that that's not a 50-50 thing by any means. So that leaves about, 500 or so guys that haven't announced they're going yet. I'm sure probably a lot of them would go to junior colleges or FCS schools. I'm sure some of these guys are also those maybe fifth or sixth year guys that they put their name in there to see what was out there, but they're also ready to be done playing. So, the portal cycle kind of slowed down now, especially as teams get into summer classes here and you got to get enrolled.
How much does the pickup of Gus Malzahn of Baker, how much does that, give them a boost?
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that so they also picked up Kobe Hudson from Auburn. They've had a couple portal pickups. They've also lost a couple. Jalen Robinson, their really talented playmaker, is going to Ole Miss. So, that's kind of how it is now. You lose a guy, you kind of got to go out there and replace him. And UCF, obviously, there's a lot of schools that we've talked about before, like USC or Ole Miss that get a lot of attention in terms of, the guys they picked up this offseason and how they're trying to flip their rosters. But UCF has been very active in the portal, and, they've brought some guys over from Auburn and from other schools. I think they've had some good pickups, and that'll be, especially as they go through this process now, trying to figure out, what does this roster need to start looking like to get to the Big 12. I think that's one of those schools where you can get some, just like what we see with, SMU or Houston, you can get some pretty good kids that want to come back home. And the portal is going to be really big, I think, for UCF catching up in their new conference.
Max, since we've had you on last, I know that you wrote about Kansas State and their kind of off-season preview. Being kind of privy to watching Martinez play at Nebraska and what his strengths and weaknesses are, how do you feel he's going to mesh with Chris Kleiman?
I think that it's a good opportunity. They've been real patient with him. Obviously, Adrian Martinez has dealt with a bunch of injuries last season and wasn't going through spring and all that, and they didn't care. I mean, they believe wholeheartedly this is our guy, and that this is, in terms of taking their offense to another level. I think that the combination of Adrian Martinez and Colin Klein, the promoted OC, I think has a chance to be pretty exciting. Certainly. When you've got Deuce Vaughn to build this whole thing around, then Adrian Martinez doesn't have to, lead K-State in rushing attempts and get really, banged up over the course of the year. I know he went there because he wants to prove that he can be like an NFL passer and that he can be, main thing being just be consistent, drive to drive, quarter to quarter, and week to week. I mean, that's just the thing with Adrian Martinez is, good enough to get Nebraska into these games, but, he needs to kind of go prove he can go win those games and make them a bowl team and kind of be the same guy for a longer stretch of time as opposed to just being good for a few quarters here or a few games there. So I think if he's healthy, really a guy that can be kind of an X factor in terms of making K-State a real contender in the Big 12 title race.
Max, I saw your tweet, but I also had this as a question for you that Fanatics is releasing collector's cards for college athletes now?
They I believe Tops and Fanatics announced they were sort of expanding out their whole line of football trading cards and other sports as well for college athletes, which, I don't know, did you guys know that they were already making lots of trading cards for college athletes?
I
didn't know that until this weekend.
Yeah, I had seen them before, in spurts. I'd seen, things here and there, but I didn't understand how they were doing it. But I saw them, and now, I guess they just blow the cover off and say, Fanatics and Tops, and here are these cards,
I mean, to me, it seems like a kind of a cool deal for everybody because the players get the cards and get some money off of that. Certainly, it's for collectors. You're trying to kind of get the first cards made of a guy before they blow up. I was over at a friend's house this weekend, and he was showing me all these cards he had, and there was he had an RJ Sneed card. I think it's not just it's not just the guys at the top of the depth chart. There's all sorts of players that I think can make a little money off this, can benefit off this. I think the video game could be like that in the future too, where I just think it's pretty cool for all involved here. And so to see that expanded I'm not a big card collector myself, but I think that's a pretty cool deal for the kids.
Expanded offering. Topps has separately secured NIL trading cards rights with nearly 200 athletes, including Bryce Young, Stetson Bennett, Bo Nix, Caleb Williams, as among others.
How many of these guys are going to be like? Is Bryce Young taking a pay cut when he goes to the NFL, Max?
Wasn't that the old joke about Shaq?
Yeah, I think so. But, like, man, I start to think about it, though. But, like, Topps trading cards and Bentleys and, I mean, all power to them. But, man, that just is wild.
You think there's going to be, like, some, like, third or fourth round pick who's, like, making less money when they go to pro, right?
Yeah, there's going to have to be, I would think. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, yeah, I mean, because, Max, you got to think about it. Like, there are a lot of guys who, like Stetson Bennett will be, whose worth to Athens, Georgia will be infinite, but with Stetson Bennett Insurance Company 10 years from now or whatever he's going to do, as opposed to the NFL where, more than likely, unless he gets way better at passing the football in a year, it's probably not his future.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Bo Nix. Bo Nix is probably one of those guys that, like, if you told me he's going to be like an NFL starting quarterback today, I'd probably be like a little bit surprised by that. I'm not saying he can't possibly get there, but I think a guy like him probably understands I need to maximize my value now because there's just no guarantees of this stuff. Even if you think you are an NFL draft pick and you think you can, make it through a camp and stay on a roster for a couple of years, like, yeah, it's a sweet deal. And that's why I understand there's a lot of things that come with it that bother people and that make them worried about the future of sports. But you still have to say good for the kids.
Yeah, what will be interesting is how much money that they can get in NIL. And how much, and will it ever affect somebody not turning pro?
Well, I think we're already seeing that in basketball, aren't we?
Yeah. No, you're right. Yep. Yeah, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, though. I think it certainly, and that's where, as much as there's a lot of pandering right now about, pay for play and inducement and stuff like that in recruiting, I think a big piece of this at a lot of these programs has got to be the retention piece. And just can you take care of your guys who are proven and, sort of put things together to convince them to stay an extra year. I think that adds a lot more value to your program than trying to put down a lot of money on a true freshman who knows how it's going to go.
Yeah, no, that's going to be really interesting to see how all that plays out. But yeah, I think you're right. I think it is going to bring more guys back that otherwise would have just flailed, maybe tried at the XFL or something like that. Max, I did want to ask you about Lincoln Riley. I know he's talking more as we're getting closer to the season, but he had a comment that he had made about the talent level that he had at Oklahoma. Did you catch that?
The one where he said he had the third or fourth best talent when he went in the playoffs?
Yeah, and I was just curious of how you took that. I mean, I know Oklahoma fans took it one way, of course, and then there's other people that took it other types of ways. But how did you take that, him saying that he always had, the third or fourth, like you said, most talented team in the playoff?
Well, with the exception of the Rose Bowl against Georgia, I mean, obviously those playoff games, which was, real 50-50 game that they could have won. I mean, in all those other sort of semifinals, they kind of got run off the field, especially more recently. So that, I kind of get the thinking there just based on his experience. Like, he's not wrong for saying it. The statement he's making is he thinks he can get a lot better teams at USC. And I don't know. I don't know about that. I think we're seeing, obviously, this offseason's been really hot, and they've certainly leveraged the transfer portal to flip this thing pretty quickly. But I can see why that bothers Oklahoma fans. I think Lincoln Riley did really recruit at a high level at Oklahoma, and maybe arguably as high as he possibly could. And we'll see if Venables can raise that ceiling even more. But we've all been kind of wondering what were some of the motives for Lincoln Riley, other than I think that story also tried to mention that he was making $11 million a year.
Yeah,
did you see that?
Yeah,
which is like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. But I think look, there's not going to be any justification that makes an Oklahoma fan happy about what he did.
Right.
But, his bet is that they can get even better players at FC, and as we saw from their playoff runs at Oklahoma, like, okay, when you've got that team, you still have to put it all together. And I'm curious to see how many years that takes before he's got the kind of rosters where he's in better shape at FC than he was, towards the end at Oklahoma.
Max, thank you very much for being available today. We appreciate your time. Have a great rest of the week.
Thanks, guys.
Max Olson, theathletic.com on college football galore. Yeah, those trading cards look pretty good. I'm not so sure what.
Yeah, I've seen those. I mean, I got some old cards of, like, Charles Woodson in Michigan and stuff like that. So I've known that they've been doing that. I didn't know how they were doing it.
They usually just did it after they declared for the draft.
Yeah.
And so, like, they knew that they were going to do it. So I have some of those old ones. They're like,
the rookie cards are in their college uniforms.
Yeah. And then you had some where a few years ago they would release something like, oh, look, here is this guy in his college uniform. And it was like a series of, here are the best pros from your school or whatever. But, yeah, I think about the gigantic stack of 1993 Fleer Scott Radinskis I ran into, and how many of those you'll run into if you're a collector deep in the college roster. Some guy from Western Kentucky that you have 72 of.
I mean, that's something NIL-wise I can get behind. Not that I'm not behind all the rest of it. Like, hey, CJ Stroud, go drive your Bentley.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. Yes, it makes I would actually go purchase some college football trading cards, because now I can do that and do it, on a grander scale. But I'm not going to go buy the Bentley because I can't and never will. But you know what I'm saying? Like that makes a lot more sense, and seems it's far more in line with kind of the spirit of the original plans.
Also, just the overlapping markets of sports collectible people and college football fans seem to make more sense than Ohio State boosters and Bentleys,
A couple of high school notes locally, and we appreciate you being a part of it. 365 Sports, Sikkim 365 Radio. Our next guest will be Ryan Ivey. He's the director of athletics at Stephen F. Austin, and, of course, they have their own challenges. They're not an FCS. They're not even really, in cases of football, an FBS. I guess they aren't. They aren't. They're an
FCS.
FCS, excuse me, in the Southland or in the WAC conference.
The easiest way to remember that, football bowl. Who plays bowls? The big schools play the bowls. Football championship, they play a championship tournament. That's the easiest way to remember.
It's easy to do it, and yet some can't. Valley Mills won the state championship today in baseball. Yesterday, China Spring was beaten by Argyle in the semifinal. Valley Mills beat Shiner today to win a state championship 4-2. Also today, Colleen High School, which had a very late change in coaching, they hired the offensive coordinator from Temple to take over their program, Josh Sadler. He's now the new head coach at Colleen High School. Just a couple of notes locally about high school sports. Oh, yeah. And
Argyle connection.
Yeah, the Argyle connection. And we have to do this quickly because we're up against the break with our next guest is Ryan Ivey. Over the weekend, and really this has been going on for 3 or 4 days, I spoke with C.J. Rogers' father. He, of course, entered the transfer portal. He was a walk-on quarterback at Baylor who looked really good during the spring game. He was third on the depth chart behind, of course, Blake Chapin, and then also Kyron Drones, but there were thoughts that he might have been even higher than that. But he has entered the transfer portal. One of the deals here is he's a walk-on. I think he loved Baylor. I also think that he could have stayed as a student at Baylor. But I do believe that perhaps he was wondering if, in fact, if there was a competition for number 2 on the depth chart, would it be a fair competition, not questioning Dave Aranda, but a fair competition because the guy in front of you is a full scholarship quarterback if you don't become one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair thing, I guess, to wonder about. I mean, he can go, I feel like there was getting to be a little bit too much made about his game just versus what we had seen, because we hadn't really seen anything. And if you're a program insider and you're a part of those practices and you see that, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but if you're just a random dude who just is a big CJ Rogers fan because you saw 2 throws from Argyle game 4 years ago, I'm sorry, that doesn't tell me that he's better than Blake Chapin. But people were trying to actually make arguments about how much better he was than guys that were on scholarship. And so, to each their own on that. But no, we'll get to see. We just won't get to see at Baylor because he's going to go play somewhere else. And a lot of people pointed at Texas Tech because of Joey McGuire and the connection there. But, they've got some quarterbacks too. You're going to tell Donovan Smith and Tyler Shuck, and Tyler Shuck will be, gone. You'll have graduations and whatnot. But still, wherever he goes, he's going to have to earn it, so best of luck to him. It just wasn't room at Baylor.
Go somewhere where you're definitely going to play. He was not definitely, especially after Luke Anthony, especially this year. So what the Luke Anthony transfer meant to me was C.J. Rogers is not playing this year. Kyron Drones is probably not playing this year. So Blake Shapen's still got a couple years before you even think about him leaving at all. If you're C.J. Rogers, look, go someplace where you can play. And
it wasn't a matter of room because with the transfer of Bohannon, I mean, he was maybe an injury away from being the next guy up. We don't know that. I do know that the staff did not want him to leave. I think that they would like to have had him on. Why wouldn't they? And they get the transfer from Louisiana Tech and Anthony, who may not even be able to play. So what was first was it was obvious C.J. Rogers was going to enter the transfer portal. Baylor had to react to that. They've been in touch with Anthony. Not even sure if he's a part of the depth chart because of his availability, because of injuries he has suffered in the past.
Yeah, and that is the most glorified take you'll get on a walk-on quarterback anywhere in the country. I know that probably every school has their walk-on favorites. You know, the backup quarterback's always the most popular quarterback. But, man, for a kid who did not play at all, basically, there sure was a lot of talk about him, so glad we addressed it.
When we come back, Stephen F. Boston, Director of Athletics, Ryan Ivey. Mack Rhoades of Baylor will join us at the top of the hour. We're at the Cows event at Baylor at McLean Stadium, Sikkim, 365 Radio.
Jeep Freedom Days are going on now at Allen Samuels in Waco. The new 2022 impressive Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 have 2.9% for 72 months, plus $4,000 competitive bonus cash. That's right, and $4,000 bonus cash. This incentive on the new 2022 Wagoneers for a limited time only at Allen Samuels in Waco. First responders get $500 extra cash. Come shop the huge new car and truck inventory today at Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like instant issue debit cards free at all of our banking centers, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Brad Boozer, Boozer Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her, and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive and North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
We're now joined by Stephen F. Austin State University Director of Athletics, Ryan Ivey, Axum. By the way,
Jax, that's right, brother.
Proud alum of what that university allowed me to do to kickstart my television and radio career. As an SFA and where you are, I asked Wren Baker this. They're in a conference that is a FCS. With the Southland Conference, you hear about conferences adding more games, more conference games, less non-conference games. From your perspective, how does that affect someone like Stephen F. Austin if, in fact, you don't get those opportunities or as many of them?
Yeah, no, it's certainly going to affect us from a budget standpoint, right? And financially, it's what it is as well. I think the other part that people don't necessarily think about is the fact it may hurt us in recruiting as well, because some of our student athletes that we certainly recruit, they dream about playing at that level, right? They dream of playing against those teams and being a part of that. And so for us to be able to do that and share from a recruiting standpoint that, hey, you're still going to be able to play Baylor like we did a few years ago, right? You're still going to be able to play Texas Tech like we did last year, went toe-to-toe with them and those type of things, right? And so it's going to hurt in some of those areas. It's not going to be just a death sentence for us at the same time, right? But it is going to hurt in some of those areas, especially from a financial and really recruiting standpoint.
So, but with the move to the WAC, does that help that at all? Or
It does, yeah. No, I think again the move to the WAC helps us from a brand recognition standpoint. I think when you think about the history of the WAC, especially from a football standpoint, you think about guys like Ty Detmer and Timmy Chang, and the Boise State, Fiesta Bowl situation against Oklahoma, and all those things. And again, while we're not that WAC of old, of yesteryear, if you will, we do have that brand name and brand recognition. People still remember that, and so that helps us certainly from a recruiting standpoint. I think it helps us really to elevate ourselves. And you think about it from an FCS standpoint, what we're going into this year with our partnership with the A-Sun is we would have 4 teams that would have made the FCS playoffs last year within this alliance. And so we're really the 3rd-ranked FCS league in the country right now behind the Big Sky and Missouri Valley. And so we've got that opportunity now to really build upon it because of the really because of the WAC brand name recognition.
What is the biggest challenge other than the obvious points of what people are talking about now for, in your opinion, collegiate athletics?
Well, I think first and foremost, we've all got to get on the same page. Like, I think, unfortunately, again, I've said this for a long time, until we stop keeping score, everyone's going to try to find a competitive advantage, right? And so you end up, while we are in conferences together, we do compete against each other. And so I think we've allowed that to kind of put wedges between us, and whether that's, again, different levels, whatever you want to do, but we've got to figure out how to really start communicating well together and coming together for that common core and that common message about the things that we are doing for our student athletes and the things that we are providing really from an institutional benefit standpoint. And I don't know that we've done a good enough job as an enterprise of telling that story, right? And we've let some other narratives creep in and kind of overtake maybe what we really are doing from a campus standpoint. So I think first and foremost, we've all got to come together for a common good and a common message moving forward. I think from then on, look, at the end of the day, Baylor is different from Stephen F. Austin, is different from McMurray, is different from, Texas Western or Texas Wesleyan, right? Whatever. And so you've got to understand that, right? And you've got to be okay with who you are and where you are. It doesn't mean you have to be complacent with it, but you've got to be okay with that. And you've got to ask yourself, what can we do at this point in time to elevate our institutional profile? Because I'm a big believer that athletics is the front porch of the institution, whatever institution it is. And our job is to make sure that we are improving our institutional profile and awareness. And so wherever you are at that point in time, you've got to make sure that we're doing that. And I think those are questions that we kind of get into. And obviously from a Power 5 standpoint, they have the ability with just the multimedia rights and the TV rights and contracts and things that they have. But we all have different avenues to make sure that we're doing that. And I think we've got to do a better job of asking ourselves those questions.
I remember bringing up to Mack during a segment, it was like a year ago, and I said, Mack, for all this talk, you would think that athletes just show up and slave away and they go to class and there's nothing. And I said, but there's the travel, there's the official visits, there's the educational part, which at Baylor's like $100,000. There's the gear, there's the meals, there's the it goes on and on and on. And I just feel like, like you said, it gets kind of lost in the messaging that they're not doing anything. And really, there's hundreds of thousands towards each athlete.
Right. And that's where, so we get on this narrative from the revenue standpoint, right, and really where we are. But how many of our athletic departments across the country are actually, quote-unquote, turning a profit?
Right.
Well, not many, right?
Like less than a handful?
There's 20.
Okay.
There's 20, okay? So if you think about it, I mean, we're not all just sitting here flush with cash because we're reinvesting back into our student athletes, right? I mean, college athletics is a break-even model. That's what it is. That's what it's always been because it's part of the enterprise that is the entire higher education institution. And so, again, it goes back to the narrative that we've allowed from a national landscape to really take over, that we haven't talked about the fact that I can just tell you from a Stephen F. Austin standpoint, we invest about $200,000 a year in men's basketball student athletes. I mean, that's where we are. I mean, think about that. When you were 18, did either one of you had somebody investing $200,000 in you on an annual basis?
Absolutely not.
Not even my parents.
Right. and so again, and that's obviously at Stephen F. Austin with a $17 million budget versus someone else at a Power 5 level that's a $200 million budget, right? And so again, it's all scalability, but we've got to be able to tell that story, and we haven't done a good enough job across the landscape to be able to tell that story of this is what our student athletes are actually getting, and this is what we're doing to benefit them, and this is how we're helping them grow, and this is how we're helping them become better people and productive people of society and leaders and people that are going to go out and really do great things in this from whatever community they're in.
Do you feel like education's getting lost in everything? It's almost like the value of a degree means nothing. Like that's just tossed aside, like that's nothing. But it just seems like, I know there's rumor, the scuttlebutt, it's going to turn pro and blah, blah, blah. But is the educational piece being focused on enough, and is that getting lost in the shuffle?
I think it is, absolutely. And I think, again, I could just go back to the narrative, and we've kind of let that happen, again, because it's important to keep score, and there's competitive, and there are results, and those are public and for what it is. But we are, athletics as a whole is an education model, right? And there's education with playing collegiate athletics. I don't care what level you are. There's education involved with that. And you think about student athletes in the literature that's out there about student athletes that go off and do great things because of the skills that they learn on the competition service, whether that's perseverance, grit, determination. I mean, all these things. And I've said for a long time that if we could ever figure out how to quantify those characteristics and be able to put something to it, that we would be able to have a better story, right? And it's hard to quantify those characteristics, right, and put an actual value or an educational value to it. But at the same time, that's what they're learning by being a student athlete. And I'm not saying other students aren't learning those characteristics, but I know for a fact our student athletes are learning those characteristics by being on that competition service. And it's creating time management opportunities and creating other things about, look, you've got to go to school. You've got to get a degree. You've got to do things to help. And a lot of our student athletes are first-generation college students. And so they're being put in an opportunity that helps to change the course of their family history. Right? And again, that narrative to me is not being told enough. We're not talking about that enough, and it kind of gets lost in the shuffle.
About SFA, and we appreciate your time, Ryan.
You bet.
Good luck going forward. Your football team is on the uptick with Colby.
You bet.
Carthel. gut-wrenching loss at the end to Sam Houston State, which would have been a huge win.
Yep.
Kyle Keller, we know, has had success, and then you had this setback because of some things that the NCAA did, but he seems to be on the uptick, and people want him.
Sure, you bet.
And then your women's basketball team had a great run.
Sure
and I know the bowling thing, but are you in those three things, though, football, men's and women's basketball, in a pretty good place?
They are, no question. I think we've got really good coaches in all three of those spots that are doing some really good things. I think Colby, what he's been able to do to really turn our program around, and it started from a culture standpoint. It started from building relationships and having the right student athletes in there, and he's certainly done that. Kyle's carried on the momentum that had started, for the last 10 to 12 years from an SFA basketball standpoint. We're one of the winningest programs in the state of Texas in the last 12 years, right? And then Mark Kellogg, again, I don't know a lot of people really understand. Our women's basketball program is the 7th winningest program in the history of women's college basketball.
I know, because Sue Gunner.
That's exactly
and
right.
all the others
you
that
think
came
about
out.
Gary Blair. You think about all those.
Incredible.
Yeah, and so Mark's done just an amazing job of just continuing to elevate that program and really continue to do great things. And so it's really fun to have those three specifically. But we've got some really great coaches. I mean, you think about Debbie Humphreys from a volleyball standpoint. It's been there 30 years. She's got over 800 wins, right? I mean, Phil Olson, who just retired or is retiring as our track and field coach, had just won his 40th conference championship as a head coach. And so we've had success across the board because we've had stability and really from a head coaching standpoint. And so it's important that we continue to really try to figure out, especially with those three.
Good luck with you as you move forward. Axum Jacks, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Ryan Ivey, Director of Athletics at Stephen F. Austin, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Our weekly segment with Baylor Director of Athletics Mack Rhoades is brought to you by Edward Jones Investments Brokers. Tom Albers, Brad Wilson, Ben Erlinson, and Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Nothing going on, right?
No. Cal's event that's going on right now at McLean Stadium outside the Baylor Club, and we're here, and he's here. Paul, Craig, David Smoak, and again, Mack Rhoades joins us. You ever had a just calm day since you joined this university back a few years back?
Oh, I'm sure there's been a few.
Like, what's the latest in the day you've ever gotten a work call?
The latest?
Like the latest in the day. Like, if the day starts at 8 o'clock, what's the latest you've ever gotten a work call?
A work call?
The first one of the day.
Like I get calls at all times of day, and I have some of my best conversations with Scott Drew post 10 p.m. Matt Rhule and I had conversations. I remember conversations at 1 a.m. with Matt Rhule. Dave Aranda, I've had conversations with at 5:30 a.m. And so it's all hours of the day, and with the executive team, with Dr. Livingstone, and so it's just part of it. So you embrace it and you roll with it. So.
How important? You have a baseball coach yet? There's no other.
There's no delivery.
If you get off this show early enough, you might.
Yeah. So no, we don't. But I think we're in a really, really good place with the search, and I mentioned it I think earlier in the week that great interest in the position, and obviously being a head coach at Baylor is not a fit for everyone, and so that certainly. Makes your pool, smaller quickly in terms of just mission fit and being a person of faith and really, really embracing Baylor and what it's about. And so, you go through that filtering process and I think again we've landed in a really, really good place, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited to get in front of some of the candidates and have face-to-face conversation and talk about a lot of different things, quite frankly, that are non-baseball. I think that's the really joy and beauty of doing searches, is just getting to know some really, really cool people. The people that you don't hire, I still have friendships and relationships with those people, and that's the cool part of the process.
Does it clear out a lot? I mean, obviously, we lost, all but 16 teams in baseball now, so you've got more. Could you have more of a road to be able to talk to guys right now?
Yeah, there's more clarity of who you can talk last Thursday, Friday, you weren't sure, and you needed for the weekend to play out, and in some instances, Monday to play out and see who you could talk to and when you could talk to them, and I think we've got a much clearer pathway in terms of who and when, and so we'll begin to go into that phase or step of this process. So,
are there still some you can't yet talk to because they're still alive?
I'm not going to answer that question.
I had a former coach tell me this about what Baylor, and he said this to me, and I wanted to ask you this, and this is while I was gone for a week. How important is making sure the mission statement is never overrun by the juice of winning?
Yeah, I think it's how important is it? It's everything. It really is everything. And again, I'm not here to deliver a sermon, but I think that God will honor that, and I really believe that. And if winning ever becomes more important than our faith, than our core values, it's going to crumble. And I'll just say it. And it did. And that can never ever happen again here at Baylor University. It just can't. And so we're in the throes of having some incredible success. And that's why you better be really certain in terms of the people that are leading your programs and their value and their belief system, and that they'll stay grounded. It's making sure that we have leaders in the right areas that will always stay grounded, and it's something that as leader of the entire enterprise that I've got to be relentless about. You can't talk about it once every 3 months. You can't talk about it once a week. You have to talk about it every single day, and we do. And again, we're certainly not perfect, but it's that winning can never become more important than our core values, our faith system.
So when you get into interviewing a coach, X's and O's, obviously, you could probably have lateral moves no matter who it is, because there's a lot of people who know that. How quickly do you know that they're a fit personality-wise and mission statement that you can push that X and O thing to the back?
Yeah, it's a great question. And so, the stuff that we do on the phone prior to really, visiting with somebody in person, I really use that time to kind of filter. And then, when you're in person, I think it's less science and more art in terms of reading people and, how authentic is it? You can just feel it and see it. And so, the in-person piece really validates what you thought or what you're thinking coming out of the phone interview process. I just think that if you're trying to do all of that in an in-person, it just doesn't allow for enough time and the right types of conversation that we should be having with conversations. And there's some great baseball coaches out there. They are. We'll talk to just a sampling of them because it's not for everyone, and we're not going to compromise that.
Coach Ford, one of your recent hires, they've got the championships coming up in Eugene, Oregon. That's the last of the school calendar, so to speak. Just your thoughts on them heading up to Eugene with a lot of representation and just kind of the job that he's done so far.
Yeah, I'm proud of Coach Ford. I don't know how closely anybody watched that search process play out, but we beat up Coach Ford pretty good through that process, and I mean that in a really good way. He really had to earn it. And I think that's the case if you're an internal candidate. And we took him through the ringer, and I really appreciated how he handled all of it. Every time we engaged, he was positive. Every time we engaged, he was relentless. He wasn't given. He wasn't given that opportunity. He earned it, and I think what he's done in just year one has been tremendous. He'll be the first to tell you that. Wow, I mean, it's been quite a year, and just learning and the difference from moving over and now being the singular voice, the leader, right, of the program, from being somebody that suggest things to now being the person that actually says, no, this is what we're doing. And he's going to continue to grow. He's going to continue to grow as a head coach. We've had a really good year. We talked about it here in an earlier session in Cal's, but connectivity with your student athletes, like he gets that. He's got that. And that's like football. That's our second largest squad size. And so a lot of student athletes, both female and male, obviously, and he's done a really good job of doing that. So I'm excited about the future. Again, what they're doing in Oregon, proud of them, and I think really great things for our track and field program in the future.
Collegiate Athletics Leadership Symposium. I know this is something that Kevin and others were a part of, and you, of course, put your blessing on it. Lauren Smith and Giovanna, so many. How important was it to host this? What is it like to have this on your campus right now?
Yeah, I think initially I was like, "Holy cow! Can we really take one more thing on?" And that was probably pretty selfish, but. I think Baylor Athletics, we have a role in terms of serving our industry. And so I'm grateful that Kevin and the rest of the executive team and all of our people really embraced this and made this happen. I had nothing to do with it. I was just told, hey, show up. I just had to give the blessing and to say, yes, we'll do it. And but it's all of our other staff members, and you mentioned some of them, and there certainly has been many that really have made this happen. And I don't know, when I get up there and I'm sitting listening to Giovanna on a panel, or I'm listening to Nikki and Scott on a panel, Henry Howard on a panel. I mean, I can't help it. It's a source of pride to say, wow, we really got some special people, and it's a reminder of we're doing some really good things, and the ability to share that with others, I think is really important.
You mentioned the baseball search. I mentioned the baseball search, but there are players
a couple times.
There are players in the transfer portal,
yes,
like right now, and there's some that have already made the decision.
Yeah.
Disappointed that they couldn't wait maybe another week, or just part of where we are.
I think it's part of where we are. I mean, I'd hate to say, hey, that I'm disappointed in that young man because he couldn't wait. Our student athletes today are faced with a lot of pressures. They have a lot of different voices speaking into them. Not just their parents, and so it's hard for them to navigate all of that. Absolutely. I wish they would have remained, and I get going into the portal to try to protect yourself, but I wish they would have given the new head coach, whoever that is, an opportunity to just sit down and share their vision of the program. That didn't happen. They did what they thought was best for them, and so we wish them well. Thank them for their time here. We wish them well, and we'll move on. And if we hire the right person, that stuff will all play out the way it's supposed to, and we'll be fine. Now, again, we can't take forever to make this decision, because I think just more uncertainty leads to people saying, hey, I can't hang in for any longer. But we'll navigate it. We'll be okay. And the new head coach, their first job will have to be to re-recruit those that remain on the roster, and then quickly after doing that, then go on and adding to the roster.
Yeah, that transfer portal goes both ways sometimes as well.
It does.
Someone asked me, is there a shade construction, something going up in the southern part of the stadium to block the sun? Is that?
Well, if there is, I'm not aware of it. So we got a lot going on.
The permit that the city issued for shade construction in the south end zone at McLean Stadium. I again, we get questions sometimes. I don't know.
So we are making some changes to the south end, but I'm unaware of a shade structure, but maybe that's an add-on that I just haven't been. I haven't
signed for it.
I haven't been notified of. But we are making. We had a wonderful donor gift, and so we're trying to commemorate that in a really special way in the south part of the stadium.
I haven't been, it's kind of crazy, just all the traffic and everything going on, but I haven't been sitting here and looking around in a long time. When you look around at the Welcome Center and the groundbreaking and just everything, what do you kind of think of just about the future and the present?
I'm excited. It speaks to progress. It speaks to change. It speaks to getting better. And you talk about the Welcome Center. What a great addition for the university, and to have the late Mack Rhoades' name on it, along with his wife Paula. Both of them just two very, very, very special and dear people to the Baylor family. And the pavilion getting underway, and can't wait until January of 2024 to play the first game there. And I know Scott and Nikki are unbelievably excited about that, and that's going to be a great addition. And because of that project, then that impacts volleyball and acrobatics and tumbling in a very, very positive way. And the football development center is a huge project for us as well, as we think about our future of football, and how do we continue to be nationally relevant, and again, moving football out of the Simpson Center. Wow, what a huge win for all 525 of our student athletes as we think about this new student athlete center for excellence, and how we expand that. And so we have to be in this constant motion of change, and that can be uncomfortable at times, and we're never going to change just to change. When we do change, it's with a vision, it's with a purpose, it's with a plan. But if you're not changing in this industry, and I think you could say it probably for any industry, you're getting caught, and we've got to continue to be out, leading in that space.
You got a lot on your plate, man. We appreciate you being a part of this today. Congratulations on this event. Good luck with the search.
No, thank you, and I appreciate you all being here at the event, and it is a great event, and great for Will, who actually started Cows, and he had a very intentional purpose of reaching out to young leaders in this industry, and Will's got a heart of gold, and certainly grateful for him and our staff to be able to pull this off.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Mack Rhoades, Baylor's Director of Athletics at the Cals event at McLean Stadium. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Y'all listen up. Let me tell you something about group meals from Rudy's Barbecue. It's got all you need for all the folks you gotta feed. Smoked meat, sides, and more. There's everything down to the tablecloth, just like the one that you see at the store. At a bridal shower, it's better than flowers. And a long distance meeting, it'll pass the hours. It'll feed all the cousins at a family function. It's better than potluck at a church luncheon. Next time you need to feed 10 or more, call and order a Rudy's group meal.
Next in line.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfect pizza. Bob Mock has owned Marco's Pizza franchises since 2013 and has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in the Waco area, in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Order at marcos.com to make any moment better. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Altmaier steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
We're now joined by Wren Baker. He's been a guest of this show many times. North Texas Vice President and Director of Athletics, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. We really don't want to discuss athletics. We want to know everything about Mack Rhoades that you know about Mack Rhoades that you can tell us about.
How much run time do we have? It's going to take a while.
Just go.
But here's the first thing I would say is we talked about authenticity in here earlier in terms of leadership, and I was on a panel with Mack, and I left this one holstered in the chamber, but I almost said only somebody who's authentic would walk around dressed like this guy does. So, first thing I saw him, Mack and I talk probably once a week. We're very close. He says he's like a brother to me. I say he's like a father. That really offends him. I told him, I said, Mack, this outfit, I wouldn't be a supporter of it, but the cufflinks really bring it all together. So.
And the socks, lack of socks is always. He's always been that way, though. Has he always been that way?
No, he's always been a no sock guy.
Yeah.
That's become real trendy, and Mack was ahead of that trend. I have to give him, a lot of credit there. He's always been a no sock guy, but I told him, I said, thank God for you, because Paul Frederick would have went out of business during COVID if it wasn't for Mack at home ordering these shirts. So
you have known him a long time. You have worked with him side by side. Decisions that were difficult, the two of you have had to make about where you were and also each other. Did you ever think he could come to Baylor and have the success he's had, knowing where they were, knowing where he was with you at Missouri and all the things in between?
I did, because I felt like where Baylor was at that point in time, they really needed a process-driven athletic director, and Mack is very regimented and almost maniacal in his processes. But, given what had happened and transpired, I felt like that was really important. And so I knew Kevin had the search, and Kevin and Bob Bodine, and certainly I'm good friends with them. And I kept telling Kevin, I'm like, hey, I think Mack's perfect there. I don't know if he'd do it, but I think he's perfect there. And they ended up eventually talking to him, and I think they agreed. And man, what a tremendous job that he's done here. Such a great fit, just the individual and the institution. And I've always had a lot of respect and admiration for Baylor, and certainly have a lot of respect and love and appreciation for Mack. So I've been thrilled to watch what's happened here the last couple of years.
What have the last year been like for athletic directors, especially at your level at North Texas? Obviously, when the Big 12 almost disintegrates, no one's really safe, or no one is, unless you happen to be Alabama or Florida and you're going to be in the SEC forever, but no one's really safe in all this. So how do you approach things knowing that, you're constantly having to sell, here's what the benefits of North Texas are, here's, we're a big school, we're this, we have all these things, in a world where no one can really feel like 100% secure in the ground they're on?
Yeah, we were prepared for it at North Texas just because, and this is probably a little bit of Mack rubbing off on me, but I grew up in very rural southeastern Oklahoma, so I'm kind of a country guy at heart, but I'm a very data-driven person. And so I started when I got here reaching out to different people who were a part of membership realignment the last time around in different conferences and asking, okay, what drove those decisions? And, some of them I even was able to get the actual spreadsheet and the metric and how they graded people. And so we had been working on that, and we even had collaterals built because we knew, I didn't know what OU and Texas was going to do, but I knew that conference realignment would come back around. We wanted to make sure that we were positioned for it. Now, here, coming off of the heels of COVID, which was a very disruptive and scary time. People were talking about cutting sports. We were so concerned at what was going to happen, especially if we didn't have a season. We had got to the end, and I told my wife, I said, hey, the last week before fall camp, nothing possibly can happen. So let's go to Florida. So we booked a place at Seaside. Spent more than we should, but we hadn't been on vacation in a couple of years. So I'm like, let's do it big. We're going to really live this up. And then the week or two before we get ready to go is when OU Texas news broke. So I was on the phone the whole time talking about conference realignment. But, it was a crazy time and a disruptive disruptive time, but that's college athletics. When has it not been disruptive? Whether it was back to cost of attendance, what we're dealing with now, realignment. I mean, the only thing that stays the same in our industry is everything changes. And so if you can't handle that, you better go do something else. And so, I think that's one of the things that Mack's always done very well, and I've watched him, watched other people I've had a chance to get to know and work with that I respect. And you just have to be ready to for any situation to present itself.
What is the biggest issue you think in college athletics that not enough people are talking about versus the typical topics that everybody's talking about?
Yeah, I feel like I think it's unfortunate that we haven't done a good enough job of talking about our message, talking about what we do for young people. This narrative that's out there that somehow young people are being taken advantage of. You guys are around college athletics enough to know, that's just not true. Mm-hmm. And lots of young people are getting life-changing opportunities, and we could bring hundreds from every institution and talk about it. But I will say this, there's a lot of student athletes that during their collegiate careers, no matter how much we talk to them about being prepared for life after sports, are focused on sports. They think they're going to play pro. They think that's their ticket out. That's their future. And we know for many of them, because the statistics bears out, that doesn't end up happening. And so I believe where we ought to be focused as an industry, whether it's the NCAA or whoever ends up being in charge, is building life-changing career centers that when student athletes finish that, I've been at places where once they realize their dream is over, play pro, they're coming back trying to get their old apartment and their old summer job. So a place they can go get internships that are already set up for them, get a scholarship, get another degree or a certificate or whatever they need to get their life started, because then they're really ready for it. Now, we're providing all that at almost every institution now. Career. They're mad that we make them go a lot of times because they don't think that's not where their focus is. They don't have that maturity yet to realize that they need to be prepared. So I really feel like if we could focus our energy on creating that opportunity so that when they're done, that would be very, very helpful.
I want to go back to the time when you and Mack were at Missouri, and everyone kind of knows the story, but when he had the opportunity, you recommended him. You said that many times to Kevin and Bob Bodine. Did you help him, almost give him a blessing? Mack, I got this, go? Because it was a tough time.
So when Mack and I got to be really close, James Dickey, the basketball coach, is a dear friend and like a second father to me. He worked for Mack at Houston, introduced us, and we got to be close during my time at Memphis and his time at Houston. And so when he took the Missouri job, he called me and he told me, he said, "Listen, I know you've been an AD," because I was an AD in Division II and NAI. He said, "And you'll be an AD again, but I need 3 years from you." And so I said, "Hey, this is a great opportunity. Love you. Got a lot to learn. I'm with you." So I'd been with him about a year, and actually Bob and Kevin were working with North Texas on their search. And Kevin called me. He goes, "Hey, I know what you and Mack have talked about, but we have the North Texas search, and we think you'd be perfect for that job." And I was like, "I think it would be perfect for it too." And so I went in and talked to Mack about it, and he goes, "I'm not going to play the friendship and loyalty card, but you know what we talked about with 3 years, and I really need you here." So he basically played the card. And so I called Kevin back and said, "Hey, if I'm going to be one of the top one or two, I'd go back and have this conversation with him again, but I'm not going to burn that equity to chase one if I'm not high on the list." And so fast forward, I think because of that, and ultimately Mack loves me and he was going to support me, but when the offer came from Baylor, he called me and he said, "Hey, they've offered me the job," and he told me the financial terms, and they were really good at the time. And I said, "How long they give you to give him an answer?" And he said, "Well, I'm in the conference room next door. They're waiting." they're waiting. And I said, "What is Amy saying?" He's like, "Well, I'm going to call her next." He said, "I felt like I owed you this call, because I recruited you to Missouri." And he said, "I'll have a place for you at Baylor if you want to go. I'll try and help you get the Missouri job if you want to do that, and I'll support you at North Texas." And so we had a moment. We talked about other things that I'll keep personal and private there, but we had a moment, and I basically told him, I said, "Mack, you need to do what's best for your family and what you feel like God's calling you to do." And that was my advice to him. And I think he knew what he wanted to do, but because of our friendship and relationship, I think it helped him that he knew that there would be no hard feelings on my part, and it's worked out great for him and for Baylor, and it turned out great for me. And you all know this. God has a plan for us all, and so he plants us where he wants us to be, and he lets us grow there. And so I think it was time for Mack to be planted here.
Wren Baker is the director of athletics at the University of North Texas, and is with us at the Cows event at Baylor and McLean Stadium on Sikkim 365 Radio.
Well, I said, Missouri had to knock a couple people off their list, but so it worked out. But what was that emotions like around it? That's a hurricane of things going on all at the same time. It's got to be hard to think clearly when you've got job offers, he's got job offers, you're at a place, a big school like Missouri, they've got controversy of their own going on at that time. It had to be like difficult to think straight.
It was, but I think Mack and I were so good for each other during that time. There's a different sense of pressure when you're the AD versus, I felt pressure, but it was different than him. And I think I provided him a lot of comic relief during that time. You guys haven't been around me enough to know that there's not a situation that I won't make jokes about. So, we were in that together, and there was something about having each other that allowed you to provide some clarity, and we know each other very well and talk through those things. So, I knew for him at that time, he still had two daughters in the Houston area. One had went with him up to Missouri, and it was a great financial opportunity. But more than that, I just knew what Kevin was describing that Baylor needed, and that's exactly who Mack was. And it just felt to me like, it would make sense. And you guys have known Mack well enough to know leaving a place where you feel like the job's not finished is not in his DNA. So I think he had to overcome that. But one of the things I tried to tell him was, who you owe the most to is your family and yourself, and to your calling. And so if you feel like this is where you're being called to go, you can't worry about what might be left to do at Missouri. So, I have so much respect and admiration for him. He is a very thoughtful, strategic leader, but a very good person. He really cares about people. And so I don't take for granted that he called and talked that through with me. He didn't have to, certainly could have just made the decision. So I think that says a lot about who he is.
I just blanked for a sec. You mentioned kind of in passing the NCAA or whatever it is that's leading whatever this is. What do you think that ultimately is, or is that what everybody's trying to figure out right now?
I think it's what everybody's trying to figure out right now. And it's changed in real time. A month ago, I felt like there was probably pretty likely that the FBS 130 was going to pull FBS football out of the NCAA. But I think people are stepping back and saying, okay, well, what does that really solve? Because you're going to have some of these same issues and concerns with basketball, and baseball is becoming a revenue sport. And so, I really feel like we have to figure out, not as individual institutions, because there's so much difference between the FBS schools. As a collective, what's important? What are we trying to do? And then we got to go fight for that in a unified way, and not in a way where everybody's just trying to do what's best for just their institution on that particular day. We got to put the competitiveness aside and really focus on what do we want this to be, and collectively go fight for it. And we may not be able to get it, but we certainly can't with the scattershot approach that we have right now.
Well, that's kind of strange about all this, is that you hear these people like, this is a great decision for us. All right, great, and good for you, but can we just move it just a little bit this way so that it works? Like, because otherwise 20 years from now you can sit around going, should have maybe done this then.
Listen, I may be wrong, but how many professional leagues in football and basketball have we seen rise up and try to compete with the NFL and NBA and fail? And so I move into a completely professionalized model. I just don't think that's the right thing. I don't think that's going to be as financially productive long term as some people think it is, but I think it's going to take us away from our mission of educating people and providing life-changing opportunities. And so I know that we're going to have to be somewhere in the middle. You can't be naive to where we're at and what we're facing, but I do believe believe that we can fight to find something that makes sense.
Wren, I had another coach that's Southland. It's Colby Carthel from SFA, and I asked him about games against FBS schools and how important that is for FCS schools and others. How much do you rely on those games to help? You're a part of a heck of a nice conference, but how much do those games matter? Because you hear about more conference games, less non-conference games. What is, from your perspective?
Yeah, we don't rely on them as much from just the financial piece at North Texas. But what we are doing, and our game with Baylor is a home and home. We got a home and home with Texas Tech, home and home with Cal Berkeley, home and home with Colorado, home and home with Missouri. So we've been fortunate to get those, partly because we're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and we have a nice facility and it's easy to get to. But my philosophy is, and we're going to see if I'm right, but that the best way for us to build up our season ticket following is to get those games in our stadium, and that long term, even though there's a short term benefit of taking a bye, long term that's a better way for us to build a sustainable financial support base behind us. And so I think that part of it's really important. You look at all of our biggest crowds that we've ever had, and it's over and over again, you'll see Power 5 opponents, particularly in state, that helps with those crowds. And if people come and have a good time, then they buy season tickets and they continue to come. And so I think it's going to be really, really important for us, and I think it's good for the state. The more strong institutions you have, the better it is for everybody. And if you cannibalize all that power into one or two institutions, that you're going to hurt so many communities and so much economic development across the state in a variety of ways, and it just it's going to be a declining return.
Well, the Arkansas game alone for you guys was not just as far as that, but that put people saying, "Oh, look at North Texas." I mean, those kind of games put you guys on the map.
We still tweet about it. And Hunter Yurchek, who worked for Mack, he's a friend of mine as well. He'll occasionally text me and say, "Really? Again?" I'm like, "Hey, man, we got to get all of our money out of that."
Phil Bennett, Jim Gush, Randy Clements, we know them incredibly well. Phil Bennett is, he almost becomes a weekly guest for us, and was until you guys hired him. Obviously, you had the nice streak at the end of the year. How important was that to give a little juice to the program, because it wasn't good at that time?
Phil's son Sam's with us now. Jason Smith is with us. I'll tell you what, Phil has been such a blessing to have. I mean, he's unflappable as a coach. He's weathered so many storms. He's a great leader. And so we certainly got better throughout the year with him. When we were 1-6, most people across the country at that time last year were letting go of coaches, and certainly there were a lot of people at our place talking about it. But I was in the locker room after every game, and I didn't know where we would wind up at the end of the season, but they had not lost that team. And I coached a little bit, and I think that helps me as a leader, because you kind of know, looking in the kids' eyes, who's still bought in and listening to the coaches. And so then they turn around and won 5 in a row. Credit to the offensive guys who went from an air raid to the top 5 rushingest team in the country. And then Phil got those guys playing well. He had a really young back end of the defense and got them, coached them up. So we're excited about what this year could look like. I mean, I expect our defense will be better. They lost some really good players, but they've got a lot that's coming in, and our offense has a chance to be a lot better as well. So I feel, you guys know this, you sit down with him and you could talk for 3 or 4 hours and it seems like 30 minutes.
No,
he's got a story for everything.
It's gold.
Yeah.
It is radio gold. Wren, thank you, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Good luck as everything changes every day. As you said, if you're not ready for change, then you probably need to be in a different business. But thanks for your time.
Only those who are dead have done enough.
That's a great way. Wren Baker, Director of Athletics at the University of North Texas, with a Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Texas Farm Bureau Insurance has protected fellow Texans with auto, home, health, and life insurance since 1952. With more than 260,000 square miles of land and 27 million people, that's a lot to cover. Whether you're wrangling cattle or wrangling kids, we're proud to protect Texans in all Texan ways of life.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar here on Sikkim 365 Radio, Sikkim365.com. Taking a look at some stories around the world of sports that are of interest and a little bit off the radar, so to speak. We will talk college football when it does call for it, and we'll keep college sports in the mix, and that's actually where we'll start. Did you guys check out any of the college softball national championship series that got underway last night? Oklahoma and Texas, a Big 12 team's going to win the softball title, but not the most competitive game won. 16-1 Sooners.
That's why I haven't watched. I mean, honestly, at least turned it on. Oklahoma is so good. I mean, every time I look on Twitter, somebody's talking about Oklahoma's hit another home run. They're so unbelievably good. This Oklahoma team might be like one of the best, in the history of college sports, the best constructed teams top to bottom as far as dominating people.
Yeah. It was 1-0 UT. They almost could have put 2 or 3 more on the board. Bases loaded. They fly out. And there was a moment right there. And then what does Oklahoma come back and score 5? A couple of home runs. they've got a team that's 57 or 58-3 among the greatest of all time. And, of course, they've had a couple of others. Arizona's had their share. It has been. Now, what happens tonight, you never know. You got to go back and do it again. But their offense is absolutely mind-boggling delicious as far as producing runs.
Yeah, 16-1 Oklahoma beats Texas in game 1. So now if they win tonight, game 2, 6:30 Central Time start on ESPN2, they would be the national champions. And I was going to ask Mac this, I just didn't know how to phrase it, but do you root for Oklahoma and Texas? Like, are you happy that they're in this spot and that the Big 12, so to speak, gets a national title? Or does it suck because it's the fact that it's those two schools of all the schools that it could be? And so it's like kind of tainted in a way because it's not feel-good Big 12. It's like that's what they're going to take with them when they take their ball and go elsewhere.
Yeah, it's got to be one of those things that's like it's got just a bit like it tastes good, but then it's got an aftertaste.
Yeah.
Like, it's great for the conference, but the aftertaste is, man.
There's no pride. Like, there's no like, hey, Big 12's dominating in softball. There's going to be a Big 12 champion. It's these two teams that are leaving for the SEC. So that's why I wonder if it's kind of weird for him.
Here's my deal: is we want the conference needs to ride that. Whoever they are, the logos, the money, whatever else. And I know softball does not deliver revenue, but it's a Big 12 championship. No different than it was for Kansas in basketball and Baylor in basketball or whoever else. It is those two teams that are on their way out and flexing their muscles. But, Oklahoma State was in the semifinals, and so that was pretty cool. Would I rather see them win because they're going to still be around? Sure, but nothing against Texas and OU when it comes to softball.
Yeah, baseball off to the super regional rounds. We'll get that underway starting tomorrow. In the next couple of days, those games will all be getting underway. But the matchups, I don't know how much college baseball you guys watch. I watch quite a bit. There's a lot of good games on. But Tennessee, Notre Dame, you got UT and East Carolina. You've got A&M and Louisville, Oklahoma and Virginia Tech. So again, Texas and OU there, but are you even happy about that? Because it's, again, teams that will be leaving. But OU and Virginia Tech, Auburn, Oregon State, Ole Miss and Southern Miss, North Carolina and Arkansas, and Stanford and UConn. Those are your super regional matchups. SEC with a lot of representation. And, if you count OU and Texas, I'm not trying to make this all about them, but if you think about it, I mean, that loads them up. You got Tennessee, you add Texas, add A&M, add Oklahoma, Auburn, Ole Miss, Arkansas. That's 7 teams in the super regional round if that happens in a couple of years.
Well, look, the Big 12 needs to step up this baseball game overall.
Big time.
It really does. I mean, especially losing Texas and Oklahoma, that's something they need to do. And look, I've thought this for a couple of years, but the power centers of college baseball are in the ACC and SEC, or SEC and ACC, and that kind of flips based on the year. But, look at the top picks in the draft, where they come out of, the ACC, the SEC. Vanderbilt had the top 2 picks. I mean, that's how the baseball is centered there, that the Big 12 needs to step up. I mean, they really do as a conference. Even with Oklahoma and Texas in it now, they need to look at it as an overall mission.
They may be here for another 2 or 3 years, and so most likely when it comes to softball and baseball, you got to kind of just...
Yeah.
But do you want somebody else to step up, or 3 or 4? Not do you want them to. They need to. It's a must. Otherwise, again, they're just kind of a baseball conference. Although TCU is very good. Texas Tech is very good. Oklahoma State can be very good. But they do need others, and that's why this hire for Baylor is so critical, not just for the program here, but also for the depth of the Big 12.
Well, I think that's why the Big 12 football championship was so critical for the Big 12, because it was Baylor and Oklahoma State. And it wasn't the usual suspects that were in that game, or at least one usual suspect in Oklahoma, and then the other team that gets talked about all the time. That's what was refreshing about it. It was, this is the Big 12. This isn't somebody leaving. This is the 2 teams that are going to maybe be spearheading this thing. But yeah, it's very interesting to see the super regionals start to get underway. I've enjoyed watching what I've watched so far, but that is damn impressive for the SEC, because I know there will be some that count OU and Texas into that, but they are Big 12 schools, like you guys said, for at least the next 2 years, if not 3.
How does Oklahoma State not in the supers when they scored 55 runs in their first 3 games?
Yeah, well, they had a pretty good. They got a pretty good draw, but you're right. They're not.
No, it was crazy, and then their softball
Texas
team
won the national championship in men's golf while I was out too. That's another win for the Big 12. Yet also a team on their way out.
Yep. The big story today is the LIV Golf Tour Series has gotten underway, and in doing so, they have also seen a response already from the PGA Tour. The LIV Tour obviously announcing a lot of players, a lot of people jumping on board, and a lot of them kind of guys on their way out, right? I mean, in golf, or at least not at the top of their games right now, but there are names. There are names that are recognizable and names that could reel people in. And I certainly saw a good bit of scuttlebutt on Twitter from golf fans who were commenting on this initial broadcast. There are people who felt like it was a smooth broadcast, given that it's their very first one. There are people that felt like it was so-so, but it definitely had some, different tweaks to it versus what the PGA does. But they are having their first broadcast today, and we'll see how this goes. But the PGA very quickly acted, announcing they were suspending 17 of the players who are competing in the LIV Golf International Series event today. It's being held outside of London. PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan wrote in a memo to tour membership, these players have made their choice for their own financial-based reasons, but they can't demand the same PGA Tour membership benefits, considerations, opportunities, and platform as you. That expectation disrespects you, our fans, and our partners. You have made a different choice, which is to abide by the tournament regulations you agreed to when you accomplished the dream of earning a PGA Tour card. More importantly, to compete as part of the preeminent organization in the world of professional golf. So it says that those who compete in LIV events will be ineligible to participate on the PGA Tour or any of the tours that it sanctions. And any players who take part in future events beyond this will face the same punishment as well. Those who aren't already in golf that do join over the next couple of years.
Yeah, and this is going to go to court. I don't think there's any question about it. Maybe even antitrust in some ways or whatever. Here's the deal. They still play next week in the U.S. Open. It looks like they might be able to still play in the Masters. Of course, they run their own thing, and the Open Championship, that seems to be up in the air. PGA Championship is not a part of the PGA Tour.
U.S. Open saying it's accepting everybody.
They're accepting whoever has qualified to play in the tournament. So if you're Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, whoever else, and you can play in this one and get $100 million or $50 million, and your caddies get better stuff, and then you can still play in the four majors, if you can. What the hell?
Here's where the PGA, the only leg they had to stand on is if the LIV Tour was backed by France or Spain or Luxembourg or somebody else like that, then nobody would really have this kind of they would, there's not this moral beef, but because it's backed by the Saudis and they are scary people and they do bad things and they've got dirty money running through this thing, that's what makes it different. But look, if you so it's these guys have chosen to do business with those people. That's their personal choice for their financial future. I think that, and I think we said this, Craig asked us this question when, if we would do it, I'd like to be able to say that I would turn down Saudi money, but I don't know if I could be that strong. I'd probably be like,
Dude, not for the money they're talking about. $100 million. Are you kidding me? I mean, that's like, forget a generation. That's like multi-generational changes. Exactly. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I'd probably do it. And guess what? America ain't innocent.
Yeah.
I mean, we might not have like the same type of accusation that you can make about Saudi that people will run to about cutting people's heads off or whatever, but our hands aren't clean by any stretch of the imagination. So I just think it's kind of this holier than thou, America's the best and we're do no wrong and all that. And look, I'm as proud to be an American. I wouldn't want to be any other nationality, but I'm not delusional. Like I don't live in fairy tale land.
The Russian basketball teams, funded by oligarchs, right?
Yeah.
They get their money from state funds, right? Mm-hmm. WNBA players play over there. Brittany Griner's still over there, which is a story in itself. Yet, I don't hear anyone complaining about them getting money from Russia. I don't. And I know, okay, well, they don't get paid as much. There are some people going to play in LIV that have not made a lot of money, that are trying to be given that opportunity, that are also made it. Newcastle, Manchester City, PSG are owned by state-funded organizations from Saudi Arabia, UAE, and Qatar, excuse me.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of that Middle Eastern money in Premier League soccer, which is what you're trying to reference there. And yeah, it's all over the place. There's lots of ownership. It's in every sport basically.
Look, some of the Russian oligarch, one of them just got his
jets taken,
his soccer team taken away too. So like that's happened, but again, we can't pretend like it. And look, on the surface, you know me, Smokey, I'm not advocating Phil Mickelson for anything, but he does have a point. He earned his PGA Tour card. He did all that stuff. So
he also, not as Tiger Woods or Jack Nicklaus or Palmer, but also was a major part of helping build this tour as well. He gave back to
he earned his card, so he should be able to do those things, like play those majors that he wants to, and do this. He did that. It's his choice. And look,
but not the Byron Nelson
if Phil Mickelson's not going to play the Byron Nelson, that sucks for the Byron Nelson. But
well, he's not.
Yeah,
he's and some also resigned even before they hit their first shot this morning. I didn't watch it. I know it was on Facebook Live. I don't even know who the leaders.
YouTube.
I don't have any idea. There are DeChambeau and Patrick Reed, two guys who are the most unliked, it appears, golfers on tour. Them joining it, that's another couple of fairly good names, majors and guys that are good.
Well, here's the name: Sergio Garcia, Taylor Gooch, Brandon Grace, Dustin Johnson, Matt Jones, Martin Kamer, Graham McDowell, Mickelson, Ogletree, Oosthuizen, Pettit, Poulter, Schwartzel, Swafford, Uline, Westwood, and I probably mispronounced a couple of those because now
some of them have major championships. Some of them have made tons of money. Some of them have won a lot of tournaments. Some of them have won Ryder Cup championships. One of the things about Dustin Johnson, and I didn't even think about this, by joining this tour, he cannot now compete for the United States Ryder Cup team. If in fact he had the qualifications, if based on the points and also a choice, he can now not represent the United States on the Ryder Cup team. Neither can Mickelson or anyone else that might go play in that tour. And Patrick Reed has been good, not just by winning championships, a major or two, but also by being a big-time part of the Ryder Cup team as well.
So there is a little LIV update as far as some of the names that are involved. The whole thing got underway today, and I saw lots of positive comments who liked it, thought it was a breath of fresh air. Just they did things a little bit differently versus the typical PGA, and it seems like there will be a lot of people who watch. I mean, you going to watch the LIV?
Unless it just happens.
Are you a golf
to
fan or are you a
pop
PGA
up.
fan?
I'm a golf fan, so I might, if it pops up on my screen, look at it just to see the courses they're playing on. They're going to play in Oregon, is it? Pumpkin Ridge, which is a beautiful place. So, I don't know if I'm going to I'm not going to go out of my way to watch it. If it pops up on my screen, I might for a second or two.
So, anyways, that's all going on today, and that was the PGA announcing their suspensions as well in response. Elsewhere, the Outback Bowl is undergoing a name change. It will now be known as the Relia Quest Bowl. That was announced today. Outback ending its title sponsorship, and it had been called the Tampa Bay Bowl for the last, 2 or 3 months while they were organizing everything and getting it squared away. So now the Outback Bowl will be, the Outback Bowl was turned into the Tampa Bay Bowl with no sponsor, is now the Relia Quest Bowl. And also a Hollywood note, Brad Pitt will star in an upcoming F1 film. Apple has acquired the rights. It'll be produced by Sir Lewis Hamilton and directed by Top Gun Maverick filmmaker Joseph Kosinski. So there have been a couple F1 movies out there. What was the one most recently with Christian Bale and Matt Damon?
Oh, that was Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah, Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, we've seen some racing movies, but Brad Pitt jumping on the Formula One popularity that's ongoing. So going to be a part of an upcoming film acquired by Apple. And last night, of course, NBA Finals, Celtics, they get a win. And are they looking like the favorites now?
Yeah, they're better.
Yeah,
they're better.
I think they are.
Their interior defense is better. Their athleticism is better. They're better. Now, whether they can continue to run the series, it appears as if they just have more firepower than a team that has a lot of firepower.
Well, that was interesting.
Mike Breen described Draymond Green's play as antics. I think and I love Mike Breen. I actually think it's tactics, and sometimes it blows out on him. Last night it did. He was way too physical last night, and it cost him.
Yeah, Celtics up 2-1. They'll come back on Friday for game number 4, but I can't stand watching Draymond. I'm sorry. I know he's a good player in a lot of different respects. New media and all that stuff, that's great. But, man, some of that crap you saw last night, like the free throw line shot of him just swinging his arm and knocking the dude in the side of the head, I mean, that's ridiculous. And like I was a Rodman fan growing up, but I don't know, man. I can't get on board with Draymond's antics, and I'm not talking about his whole game or saying in general, but some of the stuff he pulls, no one else gets away with. Everybody else would have been thrown out of games, but he's Draymond and he gets that protection, and I just don't. I don't enjoy that. But Warriors down 2-1. We'll see what happens on Friday.
Game 4 on Friday at the Garden as well. Boston seems to be just superior, but that's why it's a best of 7. Thank you, Craig. Appreciate your time. When we come back, Kristen Brown, Texas A&M Director of Athletics, and how she sees the landscape of college athletics from the SEC and A&M's perspective. Next, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show, whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jet motion they go with here with Baldwin. And Baldwin breaks free. And the Bears, Sikkim, Monterey Baldwin.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Kristen Brown, Texas A&M Deputy Director of Athletics, joins us at the Cows event here at Baylor McLean Stadium in the Baylor Club on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Well, nothing's been going on at A&M, huh?
Nothing at all. No, it's been a fun spring for us down in College Station.
What, in the end, when you look at the move and where A&M is and things are building and getting better, can you even fathom how much better A&M is right now?
Yeah, so I don't have the benefit of seeing A&M pre-SEC and pre all of the things that are happening now. But what I do know is we have an incredible athletic director in Ross Bjork, and he had a vision for A&M when he took over, and he knew that it was a bit of a sleeping giant, and all it took was the right leadership, the right people in the right places, and the ability to really cultivate those relationships with donors and whatnot, and hiring the right coaches. And now you're seeing some of that vision fall into place.
Having grown up, like I told you before the interview, I grew up in an Aggie family, and one of the things that kind of people would always complain about is they knew that A&M had this potential to be really big, but it was going to be like a 15-year kind of mold once they decided to do that. Are we kind of seeing the tail end of A&M as an institution decided this is what we are now? We can be a behemoth, but we have to put people in who aren't old coaches or this or that or kind of cronyism and move into people who can move the university forward.
Yeah, you need the right people in the right place who have the right vision. And I think for a long time, there might have been some folks who thought of A&M as just, we can be competitive in the Big 12. We can, do this or that. And it took the right people at the right time to bring all of those things together to change that mentality of we have the potential to be great at A&M. We've got all the resources. We've got the facilities. We've got a passionate fan base, probably as passionate as I've ever seen. And so all those things were in place. It just, again, it takes the right leadership to kind of cultivate and get that out of us.
What was it like, your introduction to just how passionate that fan base is?
So I had a unique transition. I started at A&M right after COVID happened. And so everything gets shut down. I moved to College Station, and it was immediately isolated and all of that. So we start that fall. We have football, and the first home game is a Vanderbilt game, night game. Stadium's at 25%. And people were apologizing to me, like, we're so sorry this is your first experience with A&M. Like, you'll see, like, at some point you'll see what it's like. And I said, I love my previous institution. I came from the University of Maryland, and I said, A&M at 25% is better at Maryland at 100%.
Yeah.
So that was my first introduction to it. But then when I saw a full stadium, full capacity the following season, I mean, there's nothing like it. It was our red, white, and blue game. We opened the season this past year against Kent State. I mean, just absolute chills. When you see it all come together, it's hard to describe unless you're in it, but it's an unbelievable experience.
Well, it is an incredibly loyal fan base. It's unbelievable, and now things are going well, and it's not that they haven't gone well before, they have. So how quickly did people start texting each other a couple, 2 or 3 weeks ago when Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher had their little cat fight?
You're going to get me in trouble. So it was, a Wednesday night when the video first surfaced, and I saw it before I went to bed and thought, ooh, that's some interesting comments there. And then woke up the next day, and I was actually traveling that day, and by the time I had gotten to the airport, heard we had called a press conference. And so by the time I had gotten through security, the press conference was over, and saw some of the social media interaction, and thought, oh boy, all right, we got some challenges and some things that we've got to address. And so when I finally got to where I was going, checked in with my AD, and he had obviously been in touch with the conference office and Coach Fisher throughout the day, but certainly some fireworks a few weeks ago, that's for sure.
You handled that very well. You really, really did.
But look, it ties it in. Texas A&M is now in the position to where when their coach gets in a fight with a guy who thinks he's the college football pope, people care.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's not forget, last year, probably around this time, there was a comment made that we wouldn't be competitive against them. And something about golf or whatever, and we were like, no, we were talking football. And then look what happened during the fall. We handled that game.
Yeah, you did.
What was that moment like? Where were you when the field goal was kicked?
Oh boy! So I kind of hip to hip with our athletic director on game days, and so during the game, after we're on the field pregame meeting with recruits and whatnot, we go up to his suite with his family and some of his guests, and then we always come down to the field in the fourth quarter. So I was on the 10-yard line of the south end zone. And honestly, because, you know, when situations like that, usually the opposing coach calls a timeout.
Sure.
So I was looking across the field trying to find Coach Saban to see if he was going to call timeout. So I didn't even see the kick go up. But all of a sudden I hear the reaction of the crowd, and all of a sudden we all just start running out to the field. And I see one of our deputy athletic directors sprinting down the field. My AD is sprinting out to midfield. I go to find him. We hug, and then I turn around and see 100,000 people coming down to the field. And so thankfully there was a very nice police officer that helped pull me to the side, got me to the end zone to a safe place. But I was down on the field when that happened.
You do a lot that doesn't have to do just specifically with sports. A lot about life outside of that as well. I'm trying to figure out kind of how to ask this question. There's so much going on right now. You know the topics, NIL and all of that. And I've asked a lot of other administrators, is education getting lost in the shuffle? Is some of those experiences that maybe aren't SportsCenter highlights getting lost in the shuffle? How do you see all that, and how do you think that's being balanced right now in college athletics?
Yeah, it's certainly a challenge. You're right. NIL has kind of taken a front seat to everything. I mean, A&M has been mentioned a lot when it comes to NIL, and not all of it is true, I will add. But, you know, we have a fantastic institution that is a top 20 public university, and so we are educators at the end of the day. We are educators, and that is our focus for our student athletes. And then it's about building the support around them, whether that's some of the areas I oversee in academics, some of our wellness areas, and just making sure that, yes, you're there to compete in your sport, but there is so much else that we're going to support you with and prepare you with for life. Whenever you hang up your shoes, hang up your cleats, whatever it is, your helmet, we're going to prepare you for all of these other things for life after sport.
So then if you hear things about a bigger league, a higher level college football league, is that good for education?
You're going to get me in trouble. I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know the answer either. I don't know.
Sometimes you got to say, I don't know. There's part of it that's kind of exciting, this kind of elite level league, but there is something to be said for, the Autonomy 5 conferences and the Group of 5 conferences competing against each other and having a national championship and all of those things. So I don't know if I have a good answer for that outside of it's intriguing, but there is something to be said for the current structure and the current model.
Less than a year ago, almost a year ago now, the world was, all of a sudden shaken up by the fact that Texas and Oklahoma are coming into the SEC. Obviously, A&M's roots going to the SEC, a lot of that had to do with wanting to have an identity separate from Texas. Now they've had a decade to do that. Now that you've had a year, how have the emotions changed over that initial shock of like, look, we essentially, for lack of a better term, we got a divorce and we moved, and now here you are moving into the neighborhood. How do you feel about it overall? Yeah,
you're right. There was the initial shock of when it happened, but then it settled in. It was like, hey, we're Texas A&M, and we've been in the SEC now for 10 years. We are in a great place financially. We're in a great place competitively. We've got all of the right coaches and staff in the right place. Bring it on. Because now you're coming into our world where we've had some success in several different sports. So bring it on. We welcome the challenge, but we had to remember who we are, and we're in a pretty good place and have been in a pretty good place since going into the SEC.
You are the senior most athletics administrator at A&M. Jovan Overshone does a great job here at Baylor. She, believe me, has a lot of clout here as well. Do you see things getting better for women in sports when it comes to college athletics and administration?
Yeah, I do. I'm lucky. I've been the byproduct of several women who, broke down those doors, broke down those barriers, so that I would have an opportunity to be a deputy AD at Texas A&M. We certainly have a lot of growth and a lot of room to improve. I think we're at maybe less than 10% of Division I athletic directors are women, and that number is even less for women of color. But we're trending in the right direction. Like I said, we have a lot of work to do, but there's certainly more opportunities for advancement, and it behooves those of us who are in positions of leadership right now to continue to do a good job, because that will then open the door for people who are coming behind us.
Kristen, we appreciate it. The landscape of college athletics, is there a better time or maybe not than right now with all that's going on?
It depends. If you like a challenge, then this is a great time. If you're afraid of a challenge, then you're probably ready to get out of athletics. But as somebody who is an athlete and is competitive, I want the challenge of figuring out where the ship of college athletics is going.
Now that you mentioned as being an ex-athlete and looking at kind of what's all in front of it, and you're dealing with the student-athlete experience and all of that, what's your perspective on if you would have been able to get NIL coming up, or but you know what I'm saying, like from your standpoint, what do you think of that? Because you've got the benefit of having seen both sides of this.
Yeah, would I have been able to get NIL? Absolutely not, because I despise social media, and I'm one who tends to keep my life and everything that I'm doing somewhat private. And so, but I mean, that's part of NIL. The more active you are on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, which I don't even have a TikTok. I want to be as far away as possible from TikTok. Like, you have to have those things. And for me, like, I just want to do the work. I want to go to class, or when I was a student athlete, wanted to go to class, do the work, and just handle my business in order to become whatever it is that I wanted to become, which now I'm here. So yeah, I would have been terrible with NIL. Absolutely terrible.
Thanks for your time. Continued luck. Good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate what you bring to the table as well. And I know A&M's proud of you. Kristen Brown, Deputy Athletics Director, Student Athlete Experience at Texas A&M University. Cal's event at McLean Stadium. Sikkim 365 Radio.
Alan Samuels is having the Make the Switch sales event in June on the award-winning new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star. In June, the special value is up to $7,000, or get $4,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. This legendary truck gives you that first-class feel. Alan Samuels in Waco, the place to shop for Ram trucks. First responders get $500 extra cash.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Army. Warm. Welcome home.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
The secret to living your best life is pizza, obviously. Golden crust made from scratch, 3 fresh signature cheeses, and the toppings, crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, bacon. That's called a dream team. Find everything you need to live your best life and more at Marco's Pizza. Owner Bob Mock has been delivering pizza since 2001 and is the proud owner of 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to be open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month. Includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Almost there. All right. We're back at McLean Stadium outside the Baylor Club. And again, the Cows event, 8 different sessions today. And one of them is about athletic facilities. John Nemeth is with us, and he happens to be somewhat connected to where we are right now across the way because of that beautiful new pavilion that Baylor will have soon for the men's and women's basketball programs. David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak as well. John, your thoughts? Let's just start with that. The pavilion, you're the architect, and just that project alone. Thanks for your time here.
No, thanks for having me. I mean, I think it's phenomenal. As we talked about in our session today, one of the really unique things about Baylor University is its presence on the Brazos and the ability to provide, I mean, we're sitting here in McLean Stadium, the ability to provide a really great bookend as you're coming down 35. You're now going to have the Foster Pavilion on one side, McLean Stadium on the other. It's like a gateway up and down I-35 when you're going through Texas. You're going to know you're passing through Baylor University now when you come through Waco. It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, and especially they're building the Hurd Center. It's going to be, you're kind of almost like Disney World where you know you're walking in. So as you guys approach things, I know you guys did the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, which is a beautiful facility. How do you approach each one? Like, do you look at what's the soul of the town, the school, to like make it work within not only just like functionally, but to make it people feel like, oh man, I'm really in Baylor?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the hallmarks of our firm is always every building's unique. We don't replicate. And when you're dealing with a college campus, that passion, that love, that energy people have about their sports teams and their alma mater and their city, it's critical that building is here. When you see it on TV, it's going to be Baylor, it's going to be men and women basketball, it's going to be City of Waco. You're not going to look at that and think, oh, that's Duke, or that's Kansas, or that's Kentucky. It's really going to set the tone. Now, did we have some lessons learned from some of those phenomenal arenas we've created around the country? Absolutely. But you will never confuse this with Matthew Knight or the Pavilion at Ole Miss or Little John or even Houston up the road. It was really about taking Mac's vision for a contemporary field house, something that was going to be so unique and so energetic. You're going to make the drive. You're going to come to Waco, whether it's a Saturday afternoon when game day's on the air or it's a Tuesday night and you know they're going to win by 50. You want to be in the house because something special is going to happen there.
Can you kind of take us through the process of just getting it off the ground and the discussions that take place and kind of how you get to the place where everybody's content and likes what you're going for?
No, that's a great question. I think one of the big things we worked with from the very beginning with the most senior leadership at Baylor was, what do you want to spend? Like, these can always be candy shops. Like you talk about Barclays Center, that's the candy store. What we're trying to do is create a facility that's going to be transformative for Baylor. It's going to have a recruiting effect. It's going to drive revenue to the bottom line of the athletic department. It's going to be positive for the university. I mean, with everything that's going on for name, image, and likeness and conference realignment, this building can't just be a building that adds debt. It's got to have a positive, transformative effect. So that's where we started, and we spent probably a year or more, almost a year and a half, on the number. What are we buying for the number? What are the things that are critical? And then if we get all those right, what are the extra things we can have? And then obviously the success of the two programs, making sure we're giving them the championship resources they need to do to go forward. That means something different to everybody. Every once in a while, you're going to get the candy stores. Like once a school in the state did the big boards in the practice facility, it's okay, how do we come up with something special for Baylor that we don't leave that card on the table? But I think, back to the rest of it, it's really about value. What do you have to have? What do you want to have? And then how are we going to put all that stuff together to make it transformative? I think the notion of a contemporary field house for Mack, what does that mean? You could ask 100 people and get 100 different responses. The team did a great job. We worked remote during COVID. All this happened during COVID, but we just kept putting things up on the screen. We asked Mack and the other members of the administration, what are the buildings that define certain things for you in your head? We put those images up on the screen. We dissected them, and it wasn't about, hey, we want the blue seats from Duke or we want this or that. It was, what are those elements? What are those intangibles? And then we put all that in a soup and drew the pictures. It took a couple of tries, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't about physically copying things, but capturing the spirit or the emotions or the things about those projects that made it successful, that then Mack could say, yes, this is Baylor. And just maybe one last thing. He's challenged us to do this. Many of our clients do as well. He's like, I want to see something I haven't seen before. It might just be a little wrinkle. It might be a little tweak, but don't show me something that you've done for somebody else. Don't show me something that looks like what another school has. I want to see things that I've never seen before so that I know it really is going to be Baylor and somebody can't copy this.
You mentioned the Brazos River and, of course, McLean Stadium. That's where we're in now with where this Cal's event is going on. Does that play into anything designed with the pavilion?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think between this and the Fudge Football Center that we also have going, I mean, the Brazos River is one of those unique characteristics that's going to define Baylor. Like when you think about like great traditions, things, Toomer's Corner and Auburn, whatever it might be, no one will ever be able to copy the Brazos River. And when you start to think about these jewels, pearls on a necklace, the pavilion, McLean, track and field, you're going to have the Fudge Pavilion, you got baseball, softball, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Farrell Center. Like, it was really about sort of connecting those dots, and then by each of those facilities being special, but this collection, making the river, the facilities place on the river, the experience that creates. Like, again, think about recruiting. We can host great recruiting events in the pavilion. They can get on a boat. They can come across to where we're at here on a football game day and just sell an experience that when that man or woman, that boy or girl goes to a different school, they're going to remember, wow, I did this awesome boat trip, and then after the game, we got back on the boat and we went back and shot 3 points in the gym. Whatever they might be able to do, we're trying to create an experience for the staff and the coaches here that gives them a leg up when they're contesting for kids or staff.
It's kind of funny you mentioned that you don't want to do anything that's anywhere else. You're on a campus right now that literally has a building that was copied somewhere else. The Farrell Center and the Hawaii basketball are exactly the same. So you've been given a charge to move the basketball team into a unique home for the first time in 45 years.
It's look, it's what's the phrase? Imitation is the most sincere form of flattery. We've certainly had a couple of our buildings copied by other schools and universities, never as good as the original. And I think that, again, is one of the challenges. When you think about the development center and how that sort of uniquely cradles the marina, how the pavilion sits on 35, how it's got this great front door, the views up and down, it's going to be hard for somebody to replicate that. They might be able to copy the form of the roof or this or that, but unless they excavate and fill a hole with water, there's going to be things about this building and the experience of what it means to live in that you're just not going to get anywhere else.
How much you mentioned talks with Mack and others, but how much do the coaches chime in on things like this?
Are we on the air?
Yeah. yeah, we are.
There's the safe answer, and then there's the real. I think we always want to hear what coaches need. The building's got to be successful no matter who the head coach is going to be. But absolutely, every program has had a voice. We want to make sure we know, back to my comment before, what are the things you have to have, and then what are the things you want to have, and then we work with the administration to make sure that the fingerprint of this building is going to be Baylor University, no matter what. You will always know this as a Baylor building, and something that Max said, and I hope he won't mind me sharing, but he's like, look, if someone is right for Baylor, then they'll be right for this project. We don't want to create a building for somebody who doesn't fit the ethos and the mold and who we are as Baylor Bears. And he said that person will be right for this facility because this facility is right for Baylor. And so I think that's been something we've been using as a kind of a guidepost, whether it's the Foster Pavilion or the Fudge Football. It's always about somebody fitting Baylor, not necessarily the facility fitting a coach.
Scott Drew didn't get your phone number, did he, by any chance?
No, don't give him your cell number. John
we want Coach Drew to be here for a long time.
Yeah, well, everyone does. John Nemeth, again, ACOM Sports is building the Foster Pavilion, the Fudge Football facility, the Operations Center as well. So it's not a bad time to be in your business, huh? With all the basically arms races of college facilities that they did that, we want this. Is this, even with COVID and construction and distribution, is this a great time for your business?
I think it's look, what we do is always fun. I think the thing that's unique about now is maybe 10 years ago people built buildings to build buildings. I think the thing that we're really advocating, and again, Mac's been a great client and friend of mine for a long, long time, it's not just building buildings to build buildings. It's building buildings that will have an impact. Transformative impact. Again, revenue, recruiting, it's got to have an impact. So how is this benefiting the university, benefiting the athletic department, financially efficient operations, getting kids here? I always like to guarantee every building we do, we guarantee 3 wins a year. You hire us, we sign on the bottom line. But what we do is always fun, but it's about building buildings that will contribute to the university positively from a financial standpoint as well as performance on the floor.
Building the Clippers arena too. That's the venue, that $1.2 billion arena. Is that correct?
You got to do it like Dr. Evil, $1.2 billion. That's also one of my projects. That's been a fun project. We're going on year 8 with that one right now, but we got another 20 months of construction. That'll be phenomenal when that opens up.
Yeah, you get to work with the great people in Southern California on that one too. I'm sure that's smooth. You mentioned about like whoever is here, you want the building to fit. That's got to be kind of a challenging thing of selecting what you want, because this is a 50, 75-year decision on an arena.
Yeah, and it's as much about that, and like I said, it's about providing flexibility. I think one of the terms we like to use is a line of obsolescence. Like, we never want to build a building that is obsolete or out of date or faddish the day it opens. You want to have a building that's timeless. You want to have a building that's flexible. So, hey, coaches come and go, programs change. None of us, when we started this process, back in 18 or 19, even the concept of NIL didn't really exist. So how are we providing a canvas that the university will be flexible and grow, but it also needs to look enough like Baylor that the community is going to embrace it, adopt it, and make it their own?
How did you get into this part of the business of, obviously architecture and all of that, but, building arenas and designing? How did that all come about?
My mom. No, I'm just kidding. It's actually true. She said, "You're good at stuff. You should be an architect." So she was the one who encouraged me to be an architect years ago. It was not much more scientific than that. I fell into this in the early 90s when it was just truly becoming a thing, and found a niche, loved it, was excited by the client types, doing things like this, and just stuck with it ever since. Kind of found a knack for it and stayed in my lane.
Yeah. Mac had mentioned something, and we appreciate your time here today as well, that they're going to start, dirt starts churning. How long? What is your timeline, or what has they told you they want the timeline to be before the Foster Pavilion's available?
Well, we have a schedule, and we always want to do better than that. I think best case, and I'm going to get my dates wrong, we're sitting here at 22, so that'd be 23, 24. I think we want to be open for the 25 season.
Right.
And if we can do better than that, we will. But as you can see, construction's underway. Usually it takes, around 18 to 24 months to do a building of this size. We want to do it right. Things happen, but I think that was kind of ultimately our goal. And we've had projects where, hey, look, if we have a really wet summer and something happens, we have the safety valve of opening for conference play versus non-conference. But right now our plan is to be open for non-conference play. Again, if I'm doing my math right, it'll be the 25 season.
One more thing. How many of these facilities do you juggle at one time? Is it 5? Is it 50? Is it, I mean, you guys got other work going on elsewhere, right?
We try to manage that. I mean, again, I think the work we do, it's important that we're giving our best to every client. We never want to have so much work that we can't do what's right by Baylor. Baylor's entrusted our firm and our team with a lot of resources, and we want to make sure we're doing right. I think right now in our shop right now, we probably have a half a dozen projects like this.
That's a good number.
This is maybe one of 6.
All right. John, thanks for your time. Appreciate you being here at Baylor.
Thank you for having me on. Love
John
it.
Nemeth, ACOM Sports. They're building the Foster Pavilion, the Fudge football facility, among others, up and down the Brazos at Baylor. This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Marcos.com. There are 5 locations now in Waco. There's over 1,000 stores around the country. Fastest growing pizza company in America. And Bob Mock is an owner of 5 of them in Waco, including Hewitt, Woodway, Robinson, Belmead, and China Spring. There were just 3 about 4 or 5 months ago. He's added 2 new ones in Robinson and also off Hewitt. Delicious pizza. Unlimited large 2-topping pizzas. Go online right now. Order $8.99 each. You can use the code HOT to go. Also, the Pepperoni Magnifico, $9.99 for a large. Use the code PEPMAG as well. $3 off large specialty pizzas. Order now. The code is special 3. Unlimited medium 1-topping pizzas, $7.99 each. And you can order that now online or call your local or closest Marcos Pizza. Go online. It is Marcos.com. And on top of that, they also have much more. Pizza bowls. They have sandwiches, wings, drinks. What you need, they have them. They can even do gift cards for somebody if you want to get something for them as a gift. It's Bob Mock and 5 locations of Marcos in Waco, Texas, and 1,000 stores around the country. Go to Marcos.com. Pizza lovers get it.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Welcome back, Sikkim 365 Radio 365 Sports, the top 5. I thought we'd go NFL today since we're so heavy college athletics. So, top 5 remaining NFL offseason questions. And a couple of these, I'm curious to get you guys' opinions on. Some of them are, kind of basic, but there are questions that NFL fans have. So, number 5, who will be the surprise post-June 1st cuts? Because we're after June 1st now. There's going to be somebody, a big name somewhere that gets cut and let go because they've been kind of holding out on it. Who's that going to be? I don't really know who it is. I think I'm more interested in who signs to replace. Who's the, Julio Jones, guys like J.C. Treader, Odell Beckham Jr. when those guys get signed. But outside of that, there's going to be a big name that gets cut somewhere. And so we haven't seen it really yet. I think most of those moves have been made. But, there's going to be a big name somewhere that gets dropped.
I thought maybe it was Joel Corey that was talking about this and how they've even changed that up. You can actually be a post-June 1st cut, but it changes the way.
Well, you can do it in February if you want to,
but it just doesn't apply until you get to June the 1st. I don't know enough of the names, but I'm cheating here. Michael Thomas.
Yeah. Well, they don't have any. They just drafted Chris Olave. He hasn't really played in 2 years. That's a name that would make sense. And if he shows up and he's a shell of himself, can you get out from under him enough to where it would make sense for him to go?
Yeah. Short, the cornerback, is that right? From
Short's a big defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle from Carolina, Matt Rule, and see what they need. I don't know. They surely don't need to lose talent.
No.
They can't afford to lose anybody.
Yeah. But, that's kind of an interesting one. Number 4, who's the next big contract? Cooper Kupp got paid. So did Aaron Donald, because apparently the salary cap only applies to the Cowboys. That's the only team it does. It's the only one. But the Rams are making it work somehow.
I don't get, every time the Rams sign somebody, there's this talk about the salary cap and how they just don't care and everybody else does. So can somebody actually explain to me that how this works? Because if it's as simple as just not caring, then, everybody could do that. But clearly nobody else does that as well as the Rams do. So is it just how brilliant they are negotiating these contracts and the languages they put in them? Because it really doesn't make sense to me when I see Cowboys fans flailing their arms, complaining. And it's like, if they can do that, surely you can too. So what am I missing here?
Well, eventually, no matter what, yes, there doesn't seem to be a cap, but there is. It eventually is like a credit card. At some point, you're going to have to pay the piper. But they're starting to find ways around it. Am I right about these big, huge upfront, not just the signing bonus, but even it used to be you had the signing bonus and then boom, 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 and then you could cut a guy. Now they're feeding the animal early on in the contract.
Yeah, and the Rams do kind of shorter term extensions, so they're loading up all at once. Plus, they have these kind of dummy years inside dummy years or something like that. I read something about how they've built out their contracts to when the salary cap storm comes for them, they'll just know it. Look, Matthew Stafford's retiring. This guy's gone. We're gonna have a 1 to 2 year storm, and then we're gonna just be fine. So
and they probably don't sign Ezekiel Elliott to 5-year deals and things like that, right? In terms of the way the Cowboys spend their money versus the way that the Rams spend their money. I think there's probably a bit of a difference there too, right? When you think, they spend it on Aaron Donald and on Cooper Kupp and on I don't know, guys that have all proven and won Super Bowls now, and the Cowboys tie them up with DeMarcus Lawrence. And I understand DeMarcus Lawrence and Zeke and these guys, but then they run into the Amari Cooper situation, and all of a sudden, so I guess they just have a better front office. Bottom line is they just have a better front office.
Now, I don't know if this counts today. The Rams still had about $99,700,000 under the cap. Now, the Cowboys have $22 million under the cap. The Browns have $42 million under the cap. Eventually, the Rams, if they don't win it again, they've already won it. It's worth it. Even if you don't win the next 3 years, they've won it. Why not go for 2? Go for broke, and then you start the rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 3, will the Commanders saga reach an end? And there's so much stuff about the Commanders. Are they going to be forced to release the report that has been out there because they're trying to get a new stadium? And this is intersected into politics extremely heavily, especially given where they are.
They are so handcuffed in every way.
The Virginia General Assembly has tabled the stadium talks. And look, I don't want to adjudicate what Jack Del Rio said yesterday, which I have no idea what he was thinking, why he thought he needed to bring it up, regardless of how he felt about something. And I do, and he completely left out the fact that people did die and riots are bad, blah, blah, blah. But let's not get into that. The fact that he said it.
You just did.
Yeah. The fact that he said it, though, waters the garden of people not wanting to deal with the Commanders because it gives people in the assembly a political reason not to want to deal with him. Oh, well, he said this about January 6th. Well, now it doesn't even behoove me to meet with the Commanders because now I've got people who are going to be like, well, what about Jack Del Rio? Well, he's just the defensive coordinator. He doesn't make any decisions.
Will he last until the season starts?
I don't know, because that was so incredibly stupid what he said.
Yeah.
And no matter where you stand on the topic, which I don't even want to get into that, like you said, but the fact that he even said it and went there, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know what he was possibly thinking. And you may say, well, he's saying how he feels, and I was like, yeah, but there's it's kind of like those people that take pride in being a-holes. It's like there's also a time and a place, and that was not the time, that was not the place, and that was not the way to express whatever he was trying to express. I thought that was the dumbest thing, and yeah, he might not even make it past training camp. I mean, quite honestly.
Well, here's what happens. Somebody says something they truly might believe in, because that's exactly why he would have said what he said. Then there's the backlash, and then there's the every time it happens apology. What are you apologizing for? You meant it. You may have been. And then there's more columns written. And so I don't know if he survives. I am a lifelong. From the days of when they were terrible back in the 60s when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I am so sick of them as a franchise, from the ownership to the way it's run. If it wasn't for Ron Rivera, I don't know if I would still attach myself to that franchise. Yeah, and he's the one that brings class, at least, to a otherwise classless organization.
And y'all saw his long explanation, the walk back about, I said something as the way I didn't deliver it properly, and yeah, it was just a dumb thing to say at a dumb time, and was not expressed properly, whatever. But this actually got me thinking. The Washington Commanders actually got me thinking this. I've rooted for the same teams my entire life, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I have. And I don't really want to be a Washington fan anymore. I really don't. I forgot Garrett's a Washington fan. I don't and I saw somebody say this, and it almost felt freeing the other day. I don't know if I'm going to trade in my allegiance right away, but I'm getting really, really close, the closest I've ever been. I don't know the Redskins or the Commanders or anything. They're a pro sports team.
Yep.
They don't care about me. They don't care if I walk away as a fan. It's not like I went to college there. It's not like I grew up in Washington. I have nothing tying me to them except family happened to root for them, and that was just by chance. And I'm at the point now where, you know what, I can pick the pro teams that I root for. I won't go become a Warriors fan or a Celtics fan, something like that. I'm not a front runner. But damn if I don't wish I rooted for a team that was just not dysfunctional and a total mess.
Last time they made me proud was the year of RG3's rookie year, and even that year they blanked it up because they misused him at the end of the season.
Yeah.
They can't even enjoy good stuff.
What you guys just said is the reason, though, that the NFL is probably hoping that, I'm sure there's some owners that are like, man, I really hope that Dan Snyder stole some money from us so that we can get him out of there because Dan Snyder is not doing anything for the fans of his own team.
No. Well, they're not going to get the new stadium, the land. They bought all that stuff. They're all being turned down.
He's pushing people away, and that's not what the NFL's about. So if you've got a franchise where then this is not like the three of you guys are not an outlier. Like you guys are the majority now of why should you continue to root for a team that, just based on the way their current stadium sets up, that they're willing to risk your life.
It's just a clown show, man. It's like at some point, like you can forgive a thing or two or three, but dude, if you think about like the last 4 or 5 years of that franchise, it's all embarrassing. Mm-hmm. It's all embarrassing. And it's just
if they could win more often, it still wouldn't matter how bad they are.
Yeah,
they don't even bring you that joy of winning.
Yeah. Jack, they remind me of the politician in Parks and Rec who always had like a different scandal like going on. Like that's what they remind me of. Number 2, what did the Browns decide to do with Baker Mayfield?
Probably hold on to him after this Deshaun Watson news, which we haven't talked about at all. And I don't know how you excuse your way out of the Deshaun Watson situation. I don't know how you, like, a couple people say something, then okay. Like 20 plus people say something and there's still new ones coming in, and I understand, like people jump onto a lawsuit and they want to get theirs or whatever, but that's not what's happening here in this case. Like there's just too many people involved, there's too many weird anecdotes, there's too many weird explanations, and there's too much not give a by Deshaun Watson. It's really disturbing. It actually really is. And I know we haven't heard or seen a ton of him, but like he had an Instagram response or whatever to the latest round of allegations, and it was some stupid song lyric. It's like, dude, do you realize like the situation you're in?
Probably not, because that's why he put him in that position.
I guess. Yeah. I think the dude's got some major issues, and he could go to trial and be found innocent or whatever. I'm still not going to believe it. I'm just not.
And number 1 is this: Deshaun Watson gets suspended, so we can just kind of keep on this. But 66 different massage therapists in 17 months.
There's no way you can explain that.
Again, that's a number that it appears to be. Those are accusations, and I'm not defending him. But now they even part about where the team may have set up various hotel visits.
Now the Texans are in the lawsuit. They've been at it, and I don't know if that's actually the smartest move, is bringing an NFL team into a lawsuit. I think you were just fine if you were Rusty Harden dealing with Deshaun Watson, or Rusty Harden's repping Deshaun Watson. The opposing attorney is who I'm thinking of.
Tony
Busby. I don't know if Busby bringing in the Texans organization is really the right move, but it does seem like they're a little bit to blame in some roundabout way. They're not to blame like Deshaun Watson's potentially to blame, but
to be enabling him.
Maybe. But here's my question: Zeke got 5 games, or what was it, a few years ago? For an incident that was nowhere near this,
and not proven either.
And that's just one example of other guys who have been suspended for lengthy amounts of time that are nowhere close to touching this. So when I've heard those, like, how can you suspend a guy if there's no proof of anything? Well, it's the reputation of the Shield and the damage of the Shields. Is Deshaun Watson not just basically taking a number 1, number 2, and everything else all over the Shield with this story the last few months?
There were 2 different decisions not to indict him.
True.
But still, the story in itself is so sleazy.
It is.
That it's
so
ruining
dirty.
or at least affecting the Shield.
And look, I don't have a lot of one-to-one experience with NFL teams, but Smokey, the three of us do have a lot of experience with the Cowboys. Here's what I know about the Cowboys, who again are not exactly the bastion.
They got a guy that might
They're not choir boys.
They're not choir boys, but I do know this: like things like this, like look, if you've got a guy who likes getting massages or who needs them as a therapeutic thing, you contract out with a group that has 5 or 10 people, and those are the massage therapists. They work for the Cowboys.
Yeah.
You don't, when you...
Or some players tell others about certain chiropractors or others that help them.
You don't go through Instagram to get a massage therapist. It's not done. It's not what you do.
Yeah, Antonio Brown got a big suspension as well, remember? And that was allegations. I mean, and nothing,
Well, they haven't made that decision.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, my point is that there has to be some type of league handed down penalty, no matter what the courts say, for Deshaun Watson at this point. And I just, I've seen a lot of people say, looks like a duck, talks like a duck. I mean, that's kind of how I'm feeling about the story. And I don't know what in there or whatever, but man, I just don't know how you get this much piling up and just the circumstances, like you said, the 60 plus massage therapy. I mean, come on, man, whatever the number was, it's funky, man. It's really funky.
Yep. All right, that's it.
All right, very nice. It's great to be back. There's still some decompression time and some kind of just get off the grid at times. Time for us between now and Big 12 Media Days. Paul's got a trip to Hawaii. Craig's got things set up. I'm going to try to do that. Jack, of course, needs some downtime, and Garrett Ross, who's been a part of it. Faith Lynch back from wherever she has been as a college student, just getting away from campus.
The last 5 days. we were gone, it seems like an entire summer or something. It was just a few days. Well, but I need to correct. I don't want to really make Deshaun Watson look bad. It wasn't 60-something like that. It was just 24.
But there's apparently he's reached that to 66.
Okay.
Different ones in that New York story.
That's attorneys using numbers. And
I was trying to do him a favor. Just 24.
Yeah. All right, so thanks again, Faith, Jack, and also Garrett for being here. Thanks to Kevin Gall and Baylor University Athletic Department for inviting us to broadcast from here with all the guests we've had from up and down throughout the state of Texas as well. For Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoak, back again tomorrow. We'll be in studio tomorrow for the entire show. I'm David Smoak, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Good night.